education, but because we are one government, but because we also hold each other accountable and we discuss among ourselves how this is done, the minister from the very beginning, you will recall that there was an outcry about the schools being opened and all that. And the Minister of Education not only looked from the academic side of things for the children going back to school, the minister also considered, in particular, the pupils in particular were coming from poor families, those that depended on the food that is being distributed in the school. Let me say, it has not been an easy task. It will continue to be a difficult task because let us also remember that COVID-19 is not gone yet. We have lost 20,000 people, and that's the reason why we are still insisting that even if we are lifting, more children are going to go to school, and we will support and open our own programs as a Department of Social Development. We are still going to be calling for the social distancing and all, and therefore normal for us that we know will not be that normal anymore. We will continue to look for better solutions because we have to protect the children, protect their parents at home, protect their grandparents at home. Yes, there was a system of trying to get this back, but it is not yet where it is supposed to be because under normal circumstances, serving children at school through meals was 100% there and 100% implemented. We cannot, unfortunately, do it like that at the moment. But as we begin to open, we'll also keep on improving on our system. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. We're continuing and we are now going to question number 112 is asked by the Honorable S. Mfaela. Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. During COVID-19 pandemic lockdown levels, the department provided food parcels to the most vulnerable and poor households using existing food and nutrition non-profit organization through knock and drop. And let me repeat that the knock and drop, it wasn't very difficult for us to do the knock and drop because the system for the distribution of this food through the non-profit organization is already an old, tried and tested system. Several complaints, of course, and allegations of irregularities and corruption regarding the supply and delivery of food parcels in KwaZulu-Natal social development were reported. And yes, the department immediately after receiving complaints instituted the process to conduct an investigation into the allegations of irregularities and corruption regarding the supply and delivery of food parcels during the lockdown in KwaZulu-Natal.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. It's just that I'm working here from my tablet, so it's for the guide. Sorry for that. Honorable Mfaela, do you have a follow-up question?
Yes, Mhlonishwa Phini kaSihlalo Ngqongqoshe Makeba. Siyathokoza njengeqembu le-IFP ukuthi uphendule ngokubanzi ucacise ngoba lento ethinta ukudla ithinta impilo zabantu. Njengoba ke usuphendule ngqongqoshe thina njengeqembu le-IFP besifisa ukuthi sizwe ukuthi ungqongqoshe yini angase ayenze ekuthini lolu hlobo lwe-corruption olugcina lenza ukuthi abantu bangakutholi ukudla, ukuthi umnyango isiphi isimo azosithatha manje ukugwema ukuthi kungaphindi kusasa lokuthi abanye abantu makufika ukudla okuya kwabanye abantu umuntu agcine sefuna ukuthatha kubo okwakhe. Besifisa ukuthi umnyango nongqongqoshe babuyise ithemba kubantu ukuthi ngoba i-COVID-19 Mhlonishwa isazohlala nathi isekhona ekahambi. Sizwe ukuthi abantu bangalibeka yini ithemba eminyangweni ukuthi njengoba bebonile ukudla kwabo kudliwa abantu abambalwa ngeke kubuye kuphinde noma kuzoncipha Makeba.
Ngiyabonga kakhulu
Honorable Minister.
Ngiyabonga kakhulu Honorable Mfaela, and I do want to indicate to you that of course it's our constitutional responsibility as a Department of Social Development to make sure ukuthi siyafikelela kubantu and sibanikeze lokho kudla uhulumende asevumelene ngako ukuthi kufuneka kunikezwe abantu. Into engizwisa ubuhlungu kwamina ngila nje ngiphendula namhlanje ukuthi kube khona abantu abacabanga ukuthi kungcono ukuthi bathathe lokho kudla okufuneka kunikezwe labo abangenalutho, kufana nokuphuca umuntu isinkwa emlonyeni. Lo muntu lo angenandlela yokuthi aphinde asithole leso sinkwa. Eyokuqala nje into engikhuluma ngayo mina kwi-department, national, provincial, local, is about i-conscience yomuntu. Ngoba sometimes singawafaka nalama system, siwenze lama system sithi ayasebenza. Kodwa uma usebenza nabantu abangenalo uzwelo lokuthi kwabona kufuneka bacabangele labantu okufuneka banikezwe lokudla, siyohlala sinayo le problem. But ke ngokubona kwami njengoba nje i-province akusiyi i-province yaKwaZulu Natal yodwa, njengoba i-province namanye sesikhulumile no MEC ukuthi ake senzeni ukuthi ama-system wethu abe strong, angavumeli isandla okufuneka singene lapho phakathi simoshe. So ngokubona kwami okokuqala ukuthi we must be able to conscientize our own people. When they see the wrong happening, they must report it. Two, the very people who I work with as a department, it is our responsibility and their responsibility to be conscious of the need of the people on the ground. What we call the felt needs of people must not be something that is felt by the minister or any other political person. It is something that has to be felt by even those that are delivering. On the other hand, you must remember that some of the food parcels are delivered by your NPOs who get the contract to do that. And in some instances, you'll find that in the process of awarding the tender or something, kukhona ukudlelwana between the NPOs nabantu abathola lowo contract nabantu abasebenza ngaphakathi. Yingakho ke sithi ama-system wethu ngaphakathi kufuneka siwaqinise ngempela ukuze abantu basithembe. Mina ngifuna ukusho ukuthi ngiwuminister nje, angilali ubusuku nemini ngibhekene nazo zonke wonke ama-documents afika lapha phambi kwami. Kufuneka ungafunde ubusuku bonke ngibheke ukuthi yonke into izohamba right na, kodwa ngingapheleli lapho. I must also go down to the ground physically to listen to people. But again, members of parliament, ngokubona kwami, they are good in terms of the fact that wabona bayenza i-oversight. And ngicela ukusho ukuthi most of the members are not afraid of calling me or sending me even messages when they see some of these corrupt acts happening. They send to me and they say, Minister, we are asking you to act because we represent the people we are speaking for.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. The next follow-up will be from Honorable A.B. Klute.
Thank you, Chairperson. Thank you, Minister. You spoke about politicizing food parcels actually this past 2 weeks. And I think we all should agree that politicizing food parcels is actually unethical, and not only unethical, but also illegal. You mentioned earlier that you are looking for creative ways to address this problem, because you actually acknowledge the fact that this is a problem. Minister, maybe here's two words you can consider: introspection and consequences. Now, my question is this: as the Minister of Social Development and a senior member of the ANC, have you put this issue high on the agenda of the ANC, one, and leading a discussion on how the ANC will actually stop abusing state funds? Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Klute. Over to you, Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair, and thank you, Honorable Klute. Let me tell you, as a child of the African National Congress, I still consider myself a child of the African National Congress because I grew up here. Introspection and consequence management is not something that I heard of somewhere on the street. It is something that I know happens within my organization. It might not be as adequate as it is supposed to be, but I can assure you that we are where we are today with the kind of government that we have in place, a government that when it sees that it's got challenges, it deals with those challenges. You now are seeing for yourself the Zondo Commission and a whole host of other anti-fraud, anti-corruption. It is the government of the African National Congress that has made that possible. Because if we didn't believe in it, it wouldn't be happening. And that's a fact. It wouldn't be happening if we didn't believe in it. It is happening because we are the people who ushered multi-party democracy in South Africa, 1. 2, we are the ones who ushered democracy with a rider that says, build the institutions of democracy so that the people of South Africa can have institutional recourse. We are the people that made sure that there is a separation of power between the 3 spheres of government, because that's the check and balance that we need to have. Yes, we will accept, Honorable Member, that here and there you will find that there are people who are still wanting to rob the system one way or the other. Everywhere, whether it's in government, whether it's in the private sector, whether it's in churches, wherever. They are everywhere. I'm talking about thieves and crooks. Those are the people that we need to make sure that we improve our own systems so that we make sure that those people don't get the opportunity to do that. And besides, Honorable Klute, building democracy within a short period of time, pulling ourselves out of apartheid that was as corrupt as anything, and we had our own people sometimes working within that system. It's going to take us a long time to do that. But what is important, we are doing something about it. We are not closing the doors. We are not closing our ears and our eyes in dealing with it. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable Nongeni.
Ajele.
Honorable Nongeni.
Thank you, Makeba. Thank you, Deputy Minister. Thank you, Makebe. Angempendulo zakho. Noko ndiva kamandi. Okay. Honorable Minister, for your response to the question, it is very encouraging to know that the department has distributed about 1 million food parcels that benefited about 5 million people. How helpful was this program to the poor and unemployed? And are there mechanisms in place to curb corruption before it takes place? Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Make.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Thank you, Honorable Nongeni.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member, and thank you for a question that I think is a question that is going to take us forward into addressing the bigger picture of poverty, the bigger picture of food distribution, the bigger picture that would say even to those that have the food, even those that throw away the food, even those that keep food until its sell-by date has passed on. This pandemic that landed on us and managed to enable us or propel us, it actually propelled us, managed to propel us to distributing that more than 1 million food parcels to the most vulnerable. I think the question that I answered earlier on with regard to lessons learned is one of the things that we have to take and really look into and study. And I'm happy also, Honorable Chair and Honorable Members, that some people are already doing a study. Some people have done already a bit of research, which we must take and look at. Those that did the research, they were looking at the impact of the 350, but they were also looking at the impact of the reach of the food parcels that went this far to more than the million people. So my view is that let us learn the lessons from this and let us improve our system, but let's also be creative, because I know that there's quite a number of NGOs out there that have been distributing food even before COVID-19, that continue to distribute food even now. We need to partner with them. Honorable Ndongeni, into engizwisa ubuhlungu i1 ukuthi manje songathi sesisele sodwa in the distribution of this food. Ngabuza earlier on when the food was everywhere and being distributed everywhere, I said, ngiyathemba ukuthi lokudla nango-December, this food will still be there in December 2020. I'm hoping the food that we saw coming out from all corners, that food will still be there even next year, 2021, because now I'm being told of donor fatigue and all those fatigues. We cannot afford to be fatigued when we know that our people are hungry. It's for us to unite and look at where the food is and distribute it to those who need it most. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Minister. Honorable Labskachny, you will be the last one to ask the follow-up on this question.
Thank you, very Honorable Deputy Chair. Honorable Minister, not in question 112, but previously today, you said you don't find it necessary that we focus on corruption all the time, and I disagree with you. And the reason for that is that state capture through corruption brought us as a country to the point where our service delivery is compromised and investors don't want to invest or are fatigued to donate because of corruption. So therefore, Minister, again, I want to ask you, has any specific person, NGO or registered company been identified as having had irregular dealings with COVID-19 tenders? What steps have been taken against them, and what are the consequences? Furthermore, what lessons has the Minister and the Department learned from the fraudulent dealings and irregularities that occurred during lockdown, and what will you and your department do differently to ensure that the same does not occur again in order to assure the country's people that money meant for them and for the food that they desperately need does not line the pockets of ANC cadres again? Thank you.
Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Labashkachne. Is that how you pronounce it?
Yes,
Labashkachne. I always want to pronounce people's surname properly because I want mine to be pronounced properly too. Firstly, Chairperson, let there be no misunderstanding whatsoever that I am saying that corruption is a small issue in South Africa. I'm not saying that. All I was saying was that we need to be able to focus on almost everything in terms of the service delivery that we have to do for our people. We need to be able to deal with corruption where we have to deal with corruption and not overgeneralize and end up even talking about corruption in places where there hasn't been any corruption. That's what I mean. And secondly, I've said it myself. There are institutions in South Africa whose sole mandate and sole responsibility is to deal with corruption where it's found. And it does not matter where that corruption is. And I think that it has been demonstrated by the very institutions that we are talking about, that it doesn't matter who you are. If there is a suspicion or if there is proof, if there is anything, there is due process that need to be taken in order for us to clean corruption. I have also said it to you that, and I'm also saying, please do not mix the issues about fatigue to donate to food. Nobody must hide behind the fact that maybe there was corruption, maybe there is corruption. Separate the two issues. When I raise the issue of fatigue for donation, it's not about corruption. I am saying the very amount of food that we saw crawling out of every cupboard and every place, that must still continue because we are still facing the same problem. People have not been able to go back to work. People are still finding it difficult to take care of their livelihoods as they always did in the past. All I was saying, and also, by the way, when you talk about NPOs and NGOs that are fatigued, those NGOs and NPOs were distributing food without us. We did not interfere with any of the due processes. We enabled everybody who was an NPO to go out there and distribute the food. So let's not mix the two issues, because the issue of poverty is across the board. But the issue that says there's enough food in South Africa for people not to go hungry every day, that's what I'm talking about. That as a nation, we must not take any pride whatsoever when we find that people do not have food to eat. we must also help our people to be able to make the living for themselves. That's why I was saying the National Development Agency, by the way, the Solidarity Fund, whom we are having conversations with, and they've got very good ideas about going back to looking what plans the government had about gardens in people's homes and cooperatives in different places. That's what I'm saying. Fatigue of NPOs cannot be associated to corruption. Fatigue is because they're saying they don't have the amount of money that they had before. They don't have the amount of food that they had before. Hence, they are fatigued. They cannot be fatigued by corruption. They need to continue the fight against corruption because we're not dealing with it alone, and they must continue to do the good work that they are doing. So as far as you are talking about ANC members, by the way, it is this government of the African National Congress that put the systems that have to catch people irrespective of who they are, irrespective of which political party they belong to. If I'm found to be corrupt, mark my words, they'll come for me, and I'm not afraid of that.
Honorable Laskagni, what was your order?
Chairperson, on a point of order, the minister really went into a lecture and didn't answer the question. I mentioned.
You asked for the lecture.
I asked for the question.
Can we have order here? Can we have order, please? There was a question and there was a response, so we will continue. Honorable Minister, can you go to question number 108 by Honorable A. Arnold?
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. And it is my plea, Honorable Chair, also that I request graciously to the members that they stick to the questions, because when they then mix the questions, they want to confuse me, and I'm not going to be confused by them. I know what I'm about here. I know what I'm doing. So in the answer to Arnold Western Cape.
On a point of order, Chair.
Honorable Laskagni, I addressed the minister on the issue. That's why I said she must continue to respond. Can I be allowed to chair the meeting, please? Please, I did say to the Honorable Minister, please continue with your response so that there is not any other issues. Continue.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. At present, no funds have yet been recovered from the mentioned company as the liquidation process is still underway. SASSA applied for the company to be placed under liquidation with the hope of recovering some of the money. The application was granted on the 16th October 2020, and 2 liquidators were subsequently appointed on the 21st of October. Out of the 1.5 billion, the amount that has been determined by the court in the Corruption Watch matter is 631.5634 million. This amount comprises of a capital amount of 316,447,361 and interest of 314,608,986. That's millions I'm talking about, as at 3 November 2020. The remaining amount are still subject to court processes. However, since the company is now in liquidation, all pending cases have been halted and further guidance will be taken from the liquidators and the court process. A detailed report on the final outcome of the liquidation process can be provided once the matter has been settled. I thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable Arnold, your follow-up.
Thank you, Deputy Chairperson. The Minister can relax. I will definitely ask and stick to the questions on the order paper. But Minister, can you take South Africans into your confidence and confirm if investigations into this matter revealed whether or not there was any political interference or influences when the contract for the distribution of social grants was awarded to cash master payments? And what was done in terms of consequence management, if any? Thank you.
Over to you, Honorable Minister. Honorable Minister. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair, and thank you, Honorable Arnold, for that question. Now, I think there has to be that appreciation of the ongoing legal and court processes and the issue of liquidators. But also, I do think that in the process of the court process, as well as the liquidation, if there was any influence whatsoever, which I am not aware of at the moment, and remember that I came into a process that had started a very long time ago, if by any chance there is something that shows to that, you know that this government of the African National Congress has said it out, that it will do the best that it can through due process, through court processes, and any other process that is institutional. If there's anything that is found, then I'm sure we can be able to deal with it at that time. Right now, nothing has been put in front of me, neither through the court processes that took place and the rulings that were made by the court indicated that there was any interference at this point in time. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. The next follow-up is Honorable Lauskagni.
Thank you, Deputy Chair. Honorable Minister, the truth is that you and your department have consistently failed the vulnerable people in South Africa. Your department received an unprecedented 50 billion for COVID-19 support during the lockdown, yet your department failed to ensure that no one was left hungry during this period. And to date, some people are still waiting for their 350 Rand grant to be paid.
Honorable Lauskagni.
There have been reports, yes, Chairperson.
According to question 108, it's about the cash paymaster services. So I don't know, is it because you are taking us back now to the food parcel question? And just because if the minister start again, then there will be this up and down between the two of you. But usually this is a different issue, but you can continue.
This is not a different issue, Chairperson. Instead, there have been reports. Thank you. There have been reports of millions of rands of tender fraud, and many people who have been promised food parcels who have to date not received anything. Helpless South Africans have slept outside closed SASSA offices in the cold and rain. Senior citizens have died in long SASSA lines, and call center numbers for SASSA have gone unanswered. Your department has failed the country when it comes to it was on its knees due to a pandemic. You and your department have cost the country 1.5 billion Rand lost in taxpayers' money due to an agency that lined their pockets rather than adequately assist thousands of vulnerable citizens. Your lack of leadership has cost the country dearly, Honourable Minister. The only question left to ask today is, will you do the honourable thing and vacate your position so that the President can appoint a more competent person, one that can actually care for the people of South Africa, one that can actually answer the question.
Honorable Minister, there is one thing,
yes,
if
because
the question is not in line with the original question, you have the choice to respond, and I will leave the choice to you.
Honorable Chairperson, I will respond, because even though the member is not sticking to the question, that's the reason why I said earlier on the member wasn't following the question. Secondly, I wish we could have had that 50 billion, because if we had that 50 billion, God knows how many vulnerable people we would have covered. So the honorable member is wrong, first and foremost, to that number. The second issue, the member says our department is on its knees. I don't know whether the member understands when she says something, it's on its knees. I wouldn't be here if I was on my knees. We wouldn't be out there servicing the people of South Africa if we were on our knees. And also, I don't want to play the politics here, honorable member, because it's the member's opinion, not even with facts that she's putting on the table and saying that I must resign, I must do that. I think the honorable member knows exactly what happens when a person is not performing. It is the president that will make that decision. I've just signed my performance agreement with the president not long ago. So if I signed a performance agreement with the president a few weeks ago, it means this president still have confidence in me, my organization, the African National Congress still has confidence in me, and I respect that confidence, and I will do the best that I can, as I said when I was appointed. I am not refusing, Chairperson, that there are challenges along the line, there are issues that we need to fix here and there, but this department and myself, look at me, I'm not on my knees.
Honorable Minister, we are continuing. We will now to
We
Honorable Baba
need
Fayela.
actions in the area.
Honorable members, can we have order? Honorable members, can we have order? Take into account the issue of time, please. Can we have Honorable Baba Fayela to respond? To ask follow-up question. Bob. Honorable Fayela. So it seems as if there is something with this connection. We will continue in the meantime and request Honorable Chabaleng to ask his follow-up question.
Thanks, Deputy Chairperson. Thank you, Honorable Minister, for the response to the question. It is good to hear that SASSA has taken necessary steps to recover the money from the company. What I want to know, Honorable Minister, is do you have an idea when will this process be finalized?
Over to you, Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Nchabeleng. I wish this issue would have been resolved long even before I came into the space of being a Minister of Social Development. But as you know, Honorable Nchabeleng, sometimes the wheels of justice take a very long time. And the fact that now there has been that decision that has now halted some of the activities that were happening before, I think that is going to be very difficult for me to give a time frame as to when this can be finalized. We do not know when the process will be finalized. However, the Master of the High Court has appointed the 2 liquidators as of the 21st of October. And I'm hoping that they will be able to speed up the process, because I can tell you there is nothing as destructive as things that are supposed to be put aside and be completed and be closed in order for us to focus on the current mandate. But however, we appreciate that there are those due processes. We will do the best that we can to speed the process up, because it takes too much of our time when actually we should be focusing on the rest of the issues. But because we have to be an accountable government, we have to let due process take place.
Honorable Moimang, is there a point of order?
Oh, I'm covered, Deputy Chair.
Thank you. Thank you. Honorable Babam Fayela.
Yes, ma'am.
Ask your
Yes, ma'am. Mhlonishwa Phini likaSihlalo, mhlonishwa Ngqongqoshe, ngiyazi ukuthi umnyango wakho ubhekene nengwadla enkulu njengoba KwaZulu-Natal nje uwodwa kunabantu ababalelwa ku-1.3 million abalindele ukuthi bacoshe le mali obanikeza wona umnyango wakho. Kodwa-ke Ngqongqoshe nakuba ngazi ukuthi kunobunzima emnyangweni, ngeke ngawubuza lo mbuzo othini. Kodwa umnyango wenza njani ukuqikelela ukuthi laba bantu abalanda le nkece yabo kulezi khungo zokuyilanda i-social distances senza kanjani ukuthi siyiqikelele? Ngisho ngoba mhlonishwa namhlanje nje ngike ngathi shelele edolobheni lapha bayilanda khona imali, ngathola ukuthi hayi konakele omunye eduze komunye, le social distances ayikho. Umnyango-ke wenza kanjani ukusiza ukuthi ibe khona le social distances ukuze singaqhubeki phela Ngqongqoshe nokuthi lolu bhubhane lesigcwele siqhubeke nokusilimaza? Ngiyabonga mhlonishwa.
Ngiyabonga kakhulu.
Honorable Minister.
Ngiyabonga kakhulu Mhlonishwa Fayela. Empeleni ngokubona kwami kusho ukuthi kukhona la kwathina kule communication lapho singenzi kahle khona, ngoba abantu mabebazi ukuthi balandelane ngalendlela abalandelana ngayo, bangafaki nama-mask, kungabi ne-distance, bangagezi nezandla, kuyasho ukuthi kusenomsebenzi okufuneka siwenze emakhaya, emalokishini, yonke indawo, ukuze sikwazi ukuthi sitshele abantu ukuthi mawenza lokhu uyazivikela wena. Awuzufuneka ukuthi kube khona iphoyisa ngaso sonke isikhathi elikutshelayo ukuthi geza izandla, keep the distance, yenza konke lokho. Nje into engiyicelayo ke ngoba namhlanje phela sikule platform, futhi i-platform yokuthi sonke isikhathi thina sisebenzisana, singazama even through our political parties. Mina ngibona into wrong ukuthi mangabe kuyi-ANC itshela abantu nabo ukuthi hey hambani ngicela sinenze kanje, makuyi-IFP nayo itshela abantu ukuthi mabephuma siyanicela nenze nje. But ke having said that, kumqoka for thina siyi-government ukuthi abantu for instance mabaya eposini into ephethwe yithi, kufuneka kube khona abantu abakhona lapho abazama ukunceda. Yingakho nje-ke i-National Development Agency yabona ukuthi mayibe namavolontiya, amavolontiya azokwazi ukuthi aye emaqueuini ayocela abantu ukuthi bagqoke amamaski, bakhiphe low distance leyo. Kodwa nje okumqoka kakhulu ukucela kubantu bakithi ukuthi wazi ukuthi mawuzivikela wena, uvikela ifamily yakho, uvikela umphakathi wakho, uvikela wonke umuntu okhona. Esisazokwenza ngoba phela njengoba kushiwo nje upresident ubekhuluma nathi izolo, kuyabonisa ukuthi into abeyikhuluma izolo upresident athi siyavula lapha nalapha, ikhona indlela yokuthi sithi asikhulumisaneni ngoba ukuvula kusho ukuthi even i-COVID-19 kwayona mangaba sizikhuseli singathola ukuthi u-20,000 20,000 wabantu esimluzile already, singasithola ukuthi within the next 6 months sothola sesilahlekele omunye u-20,000 futhi. Kusho ukuthi nje kusenomsebenzi omningi kakhulu, especially thina siwuhulumeni ngoba phela masihleli ne-pace esincedayo ukuthi sincede abantu, kuyafuneka ukuthi siphume siyisebenzise ngendlela e-right imali esinayo. Ngiyabonga.
Sorry,
Yeah, you are muted.
Microphone just got muted. I'm sorry. We now come to question number 119, is asked by Honorable DC Christians. You may respond, Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Christians. The Department of Social Development, like other government departments, has indeed experienced budget cuts due to the demands placed by COVID-19 pandemic, something that we were not even thinking was going to happen. In some cases, we have had to reprioritize our funding and automate some of our services to respond speedily to the demands of COVID-19. House Chair, the Department of Social Development will certainly be in a position to implement the recommendations contained in the evaluation report that was commissioned on the implementation of Older Persons Act 2006, Act number 13 of 2006. However, the department will implement these in a phased-in approach, irrespective of the reprioritization of services that were necessitated by the current state of disaster. The following are some of the recommendations made in the implementation evaluation. 1, strengthening integrated planning in all spheres of government, and this is one thing that we keep on repeating over and over again. And in our case, it's not only through the 3 spheres of government, but it is us also as a portfolio, as social development, SASA and NDA, developing a research agenda, strengthening monitoring and evaluation, knowledge generation and sharing, and lastly, promoting the professionalism and capacity development for caregivers. The recommendations will be implemented in phases over the short, medium, and long term. In the short 3 to 6 months, we will improve our intersectoral coordination to give better policy and program direction for the sector and ensure that the sectors speak with one voice. In the medium term, 12 to 24 months, we will promote professionalization of caregiving whilst providing opportunities for skills development in line with the building the capacity of the state. And the building of the capacity of the state is but one of the elements that has been recognized and being dealt with by the government, because it has become very clear to the government that if we don't improve the capacity of the state, will never be able to deliver to our people. In the long term, 24 to 36 months will improve data and knowledge management. One of the lessons we drew from during the lockdown was that in order to effectively deliver on our mandate, especially in times of crisis, we need to build strong partnership with our social partners, and that are members of the private sector and civil society who are willing to work with us in improving the well-being of older persons. And by the way, may I say, Chairperson, that we've just come out of that month that requested us to really go out and visit older persons. And I must say that there are institutions and there are people who are truly dedicated to the elderly people where they have. I was in Mpumalanga last week. I visited 2 centers and I was just amazed at the commitment of the caregivers. They go an extra mile to help our people. During the lockdown, we worked with partners such as First National Bank, National Institute of Community Development Management, the Right to Care, the National Institute for Communicable Diseases, and South African Pandemic Intervention. We received support from and work very closely with representatives from these sectors to provide personal protective equipment to some of our elder persons and residential facilities. We're also able to expand our support through education and training program on COVID-19, preventative measures to staff and residents of our facilities. And this time, Honorable Chair, I get the pain because one of the persons who was in the forefront of this work was our late Connie Ngumalo, who passed away due to COVID-19. May her soul rest in peace. I never stop thinking about her when I go to these places because that was one woman who was totally dedicated. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. Honorable Christian, any follow-up question?
Yes, thank you very much, Deputy Chairperson. Minister, I think that you'll agree that caring for the aged is still a huge concern in our country. The Older Persons Act stipulates in Chapter 3 the right to community-based care and support services. It also speaks of developing community-based programs as well as home-based care and the establishment of recreational opportunities for older persons, provisions of nutritionally balanced meals, and the establishment of multi-purpose community centers. Care of the aged, Minister, has still been historically neglected in South Africa. There has been reports of elderly people being abused and ill-treated in homes for the aged, but also in the communities at large. So we welcome the Older Persons Act. And in light of this act, could Minister please elaborate on these community plans directed at the aged? When will we see implementations of these plans to uplift and support older persons? And furthermore, what are the plans from provinces to renovate, upgrade, and maintain mostly dilapidated old age homes, and especially frail care centers and community centers where these recreational opportunities can be offered to our older persons? Thank you, Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Christians.
Thank you very much for that question. Thank you for that question. And I must say, really, it is a question that continues also to touch our hearts and myself in particular as we go out to the communities. Hence, as a department, the 2 years that we've been here, we've really been trying our best to make sure that we strengthen strong relation with older persons' bodies, such as the South African Older Persons Forum. We recently jointly hosted and commemorated the Older Persons Day and in Lejwe district in the Free State. We wish we could have done that throughout the country. In fact, if it hadn't been for COVID-19, we had grand plans for our programs of the elderly. And I do agree with the honorable member that the issue of the elderly in South Africa, we are still very far from what we need to see happening. While on the one hand, I'm talking about homes that I visited that are very well kept, and they were actually complaining about the fact that even the money that they are getting has not increased for a very long time. And they were asking me as a minister to really truly look at that so that they can improve. I'm talking about one side where people are properly being taken care of. On the opposite side, I've also been to other homes that really are not in a very good condition. You can see when you get there that the elderly people are really not being taken care of. It is our responsibility and mandate, of course, working with the provinces and local structures, because here's the issue here. While it is fine for us to have legislation, regulation, programs and plans, the elderly people need people on the ground to respond to their needs. So for those that are in good homes, we say thank you to those that are taking care of them. To those whose homes still need to be renovated, still need a lot of work. In fact, we have to talk to the Department of Public Works, because we believe that the Department of Public Works, as is helping us at the moment, even in the identification of shelters, of buildings that have been neglected, but are still in good shape, we think that we can have a conversation with the department. But we also think that all the areas that Honorable Christian is talking about, caring and community-based organization, the balanced meals and everything that we are talking about, I think, and I've said this to the department, department, this government spends 7.6 or 7.9 billion rands per year supporting NPOs with the necessary finances in order for them to help people on the ground. I think that the best way we can do is to see that value for that money. We can only see the value for the money when we see the change in the lives of our people, and that includes the elderly people. I fully agree with you. The neglect of elderly from a point of view of government creating the conducive environment is something that we have to commit ourselves and work on. But also there's the other issue of those who are not in the home base, who are in these centers which are being supported also by the department. Many of our elderly, and in particular elderly that live in rural areas, elderly who are in our township in particular, they don't have no money that was kept by somebody somewhere to take care of them and go and pay in the private centers and so forth. So the plea for us is our community must continue to do what used to be done in the past. You used to know the grandmother next to you. You used to know the great-grandmother next door, and we always used to go and assist. Our own parents and grandparents used to ask us to go to homes, to go and check what is happening in those homes through the volunteer program. And I'm hoping that the National Development Agency's volunteer program can be able to be upscaled to assist us in this respect. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable Julie, your follow-up question.
It's my question, Deputy Chairperson.
Or as this effect, Honorable Arnold, you may continue.
Yes, thank you, Deputy Chairperson. South Africa would not be able to develop as a country if it was not for the elderly, who have tasked themselves with supporting generations on their backs for the collective growth and development of families and communities. Now, when we neglect to care for our elderly, we leave them exposed and vulnerable. The Older Persons Act 13 of 2006 states that all organs of the state and all officials, employees and representatives of the state must respect, protect and promote the rights of older persons. Now, Minister, the lack of management and coordination of services for the older persons is very concerning and needs an urgent intervention. And I can just name a few of those departments. It's transport, it's health, it's corporate governance, it's education, and we can go on like that. The South African Police. So what are you doing to ensure intersectoral collaboration amongst government departments, and what are your plans to deal with dysfunctional structures that are responsible for older persons' rights within provinces? Thank you.
Honorable Arnold, thank you. Honorable Minister, over to you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Arnold, and I fully agree with you. I don't even want to argue about the areas that you are raising and the concerns that you are raising. I think I fully agree with you. In fact, one of the things that I took upon myself as a Minister of Social Development was to indicate to all government, even in the meetings that I attend of cabinet and all that, I raised this issue of the fact that the Department of Social Development alone cannot manage to implement, even if it can implement the act that is there for the elderly. But the biggest challenge for us is, example, when the elderly have to go and collect their SASSA grants and all that, transport is not adequate for them. It pains me actually to see an elderly woman getting into a taxi, and then when she gets out of the taxi and they say she fell there and she died even before she got to where she was supposed to collect her grants. My call, which I consistently make to my colleagues, is that when these areas are improved, whether it's health, whether it's education, whether it's bringing clinics closer to the people, whether it's ensuring that the transport is closer to the people, that is something that as a department and myself as a minister is committed to ensuring that I raise that all the time, even when the plans of government are presented at platforms where I attend. I always raise the issues that are related to the well-being of citizens of South Africa, and in particular, the ones who are vulnerable. But I also think that the new district development model, which the president introduced last year, if we were to focus on it and get the champions among the ministers who are supposed to go to those districts to also raise the issues, it's my duty, it's my responsibility to then empower them with the necessary information that is relevant, so that when they get to provinces, when they get to local structures, they ask the relevant questions relating to improving the status of the elderly. So the intersectoral approach is very important, and I think that it starts by me as a Minister of Social Development being able to raise those issues. If it's the police, it's me and the Minister of Police talking to each other. If it's the Minister of Human Settlement, it's me and the Minister of Human Settlement that must talk about human settlement that also takes into consideration the conditions of the elderly. In fact, the homes that we are talking about, I hate the fact that some of those homes are so far away from where people live, because if we had those homes, for instance, where we can keep the elderly, those who cannot be kept by their children, the first prize for me is for the children or the grandchildren, whoever, to be the ones who protect, bakhusele abantu abadala, kube yibo okokuqala abenza njalo. Bayeke nokubathathela imali yabo, bayeke nokubathathela amakusasa cards wabo, and go and withdraw the money and not give them back the money. So again, it starts with the community, but government must also take responsibility and create the conducive environment for the elderly. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable S.F. Tutoy.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Honorable Minister, with reference to the register of persons convicted of abuse of older person in the Older Persons Act, how many people have been listed on the register since it was established? And what is the average turnaround time for institutions that lodge inquiries on this platform? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Tutoy. Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Chairperson, very much. I am personally not really happy with what we have at the moment with regard to the implementation of that register. And I think that it's one of the areas that I believe I must try and do something to make sure that the department does the change. And this, of course, it changes all the time. But I think your question is very straightforward and clear. And I'm saying to you, I'm not personally satisfied with what is going on at the moment. And it's my responsibility to go back to the department and say, can I have a full report of this? Because right now, I cannot give you the statistics immediately, but I'm promising you I'll go back to the department and ask, and I can send the answer on that. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable Malika or Honorable Gillian, you can ask your follow-up now.
Thank you, Deputy Chairperson, and thank you, Honorable Minister, for the response. Makeba, we deployed you there because we knew you are capable of dealing with the difficulties in social development. The people of South Africa yesterday indicated their trust in you and your organization, the African National Congress, in the by-elections yesterday, unlike the DA who was rejected by voters and lost 8 wards. Honorable Minister, my question, are the current older person structures active and equipped to monitor the implementation of the plan? Thank you, Deputy Chair.
I just thought your question was so out of order, but now I hear you for the question. Honorable Minister.
Angifuna ukuyiphendula ngoba ngizofike ngisuke ngikhulume ezinye izinto, Chairperson. Thank you very much, Chair. The department, and thank you, Honorable Malika, for that question. The Department of Social Development works very closely with older person structures, and we share a cordial relation. May I also say, Chairperson, because I'm sure the South African Older Persons Forum is probably listening. We had grand plans, including the issue of how many times we're supposed to meet from last year, October. And by the way, we were supposed to have been here in the Western Cape in October to celebrate with the elderly people who were supposed to be coming from all the 9 provinces. However, now when we were in Bloemfontein, the forum did attend to our meeting, and we did have a meeting with them, and they still have very serious questions and concerns, which I think we need to be able to respond to as a Department of Social Development. But also, I have requested with the forum to say that let it not just be the Department of Social Development alone that deals with the issues of the elderly. Let us talk to health, let us talk to sports, let us talk to other departments, so that when we go to this district development model, we are able to even know how many elderly people live in a district, what are their conditions in the district, what is it that we can do, and in partnership with the Older Persons Forum and other older persons organizations, because I know that we have the Older Persons Forum that we work with, but there were others who raised the concern with me and said, Minister, but you seem to be looking only one way. There are others there are some of them who also want us to work with them. I make a concerted effort to meet personally with these structures as regularly as possible, and thus I'm confident that they are both active and equipped to monitor the implementation of the important act. Representatives of the structures have also participated in the development of the improvement plan and remain key in providing oversight in the delivery of older person services. One of the things that they raised, of course, with me this last October was the finances and resources, because they were indicating that there's very little you can do when you don't have financial muscle to move around the country and to go to places and even visit some of the elderly people. I must also add, Honorable Chair, that in order to facilitate the state's capacity to deliver on these recommendations, the department has already started capacitating social service practitioners, government officials in sister department and stakeholders on the Older Persons Act and other relevant related pieces of legislation that could improve the well-being of older persons. These will enable the state to be responsive to the felt needs of these people. But when all is said and done, Chair, I repeat it again, it is house to house, street to street, community to community, that we should know what is happening around the issues of the elderly and be able to respond. And only then can we be able to respond, because if we know in each and every home where the elderly people are and make sure that the services reach them, that will be number one for us as a nation.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. We now come to question number 127 by the Honorable Malika. Over to you, Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair, and thank you very much to Honorable Malika for the question. Yes, the intention to transfer the early childhood development function to the Department of Basic Education is still on the cards. The department is currently working in collaboration with DBE and Government Technical Advisory Committee, which we normally call GTEC, to facilitate the process. And myself and the Minister are meeting to make sure that we give direction and political direction to this process. And in this regard, governance structures have been established to facilitate the smooth transition of function shift. These structures include the Interdepartmental Project Steering Committee, chaired by the respective Deputy Director General and overseen by the respective Directors General from the DSD and DBE. In addition, there are 8 technical interdepartmental teams that manage the issues related to 1, policy and legislation that will require amendment as a result of this function shift, human resource management to quantify the human resource to be transferred with the function, data management, system migration and monitoring and evaluation, finance and assets, stakeholder management and communication to ensure that everyone is on the same page throughout this transition, infrastructure, and lastly, ECD service and programs. It is also important to note that provinces, both DBE and DSD, have since established technical working groups covering the above areas, as the function shift will largely affect the work of the provincial departments. The manner in which the local and district offices are organized is such that social workers are responsible for a range of social development services that are not necessarily dedicated to perform ECD functions only, adding to the complexity of this matter. In addition to ECD functions, the same social workers are also executing functions related to services to older persons, child protection services, including foster care, placements, adoption, addressing. It's a whole range of issues, which, by the way, Chair, I keep raising with my department that, you know, social workers, while we might want to make them to be general, but there are certain areas that need to be specialized, and it's important for us to focus on empowering these social workers. Furthermore, partial care facilities do not refer to ECDs alone, but include after-school care, respite care, private hostels. It's important to note that these facilities are legislated in terms of the Children's Act, and therefore DSD has a responsibility to deliver on this area of work. Therefore, GTEC has completed its initial diagnostic report and is currently working on the state of readiness assessment to DBV to receive the function from DSD. Therefore, there is some progress recorded in this regard, even though I personally feel that it's taking very long, but my department and the other Department of Basic Education keeps on saying to me, Minister, while we know we want to implement a decision that was made, we must make sure that all systems are in place, because this would affect the children. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable Malika, do you have a follow-up question?
Thank you, Deputy Chair. Thank you, Honorable Minister, for the comprehensive response to the question. Having listening to the response, it is clear that there is a process being followed to finalize the transferring of early childhood development. What are the main advantages of transferring ECD to the Department of Basic Education? Thank you, Chairperson.
Over to you, Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. May I indicate that ECD transfer seeks to achieve the National Development Plan, Vision 2030, and I repeat again, that plan is still alive. We have to implement it. We are not very far from 2030 at this point in time. Vision 2030 goal of making early childhood development a top priority among the measures to improve the quality of education. It is important to highlight that ECD program is an integral part of the education system overall, and the function shift will make it easy to transit children towards 2 years of compulsory grade R before they enter grade 1. The shift will therefore enhance the coordination of the sector and align it with that of DBEs to achieve improved outcomes for children. We cannot say children are the future and we only talk about that when they they are now teenagers and also getting to university. When we say children are the future, we must start feeding them with the necessary, what do I call it? With the necessary nutrition, the necessary education, the necessary mind building, so that by the time they get to school, by the time they get to primary school, high school, we've already set that pace from the very beginning. Children in ECD centers will be able to benefit from the existing program in the DBE, such as the Integrated School Nutrition Program, as well as all infrastructure allocation to support ECD infrastructure development. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Baba Mfaela, it's your turn for a follow-up question.
Yes, Deputy Chairperson, Madam Minister, the following the government intention to transfer ECD centers to basic education, one, how will this department assist ECD who suffered as a result of COVID-19 lockdown by means of loss of business? Two, what has this department done to understand the impact on the development on children during lockdown where they were not able to attend these centers? And what is the department plan to respond? That is it.
Thank you, Baba. Over to you, Honorable Minister.
Ngiyabonga kakhulu Baba Mfaela, ningixolele nje ukuthi every time ngiphendula yena ngikhuluma isiZulu because siyazwana mina naye yabona, but ke I'm supposed to speak all languages. Ndifuna ukuba ndithi kulombuzo awubuza i-department nohulumende we-African National Congress lo khona. In fact, i-COVID-19 impela iyaguqula iy'mpilo zethu abantu abadala, kwaphinde kwaguquka ney'mpilo zabantwana in the process, because normally labo bantwana bebevuka ekuseni bagijime bageze bagqoke baye la kufuneka baye khona. All of a sudden that had to come to a standstill. Kungakho ke siye saqhubeka sisebenzisana ne-Department ye-Basic Education, sasebenzisana ne-Department ye-Health, sasebenzisana futhi nalabantu engibathanda kakhulu ababiza ama-social worker, nangoba bengabaningi ngendlela okufuneka babe baningi ngakhona, labo abakhona impela bawenza umsebenzi omkhulu ngoba abaningi babo la bezame ukufikelela khona. Ngiyazi ukuthi emakhaya ikakhulukazi yibo abantu abahlupheka kakhulu labo, because it was very difficult for us to even have the social workers there. In fact, this brings me to the issue where I say the importance of social workers and the importance of having social workers closer to the people is beyond the issue of COVID-19. Kungako nje ngishilo in my earlier response ukuthi ama-system wethu esinawo kuyafuneka ukuthi aziprepare, afunde ukuthi during u-COVID-19 yini into esiyayenza sayenza kahle sa-improve, kukuphi lapho singazange sikwazi uku-improve khona. I-focus yethu siyi-department also is to make sure ukuthi nje kule stimulus package lesi uPresident Cyril Ramaphosa akhulume ngaso nalama grant akhulume ngawo ne-conditional grant, kuzofuneka ukuthi kube yizo iy'mali esizisebenzisayo at provincial level ukuze sincede abantu. Futhi enye into esiyenzile esiqale before u-COVID-19 besinale program isesekhona, le program esiyibiza bangasali, ngesiZulu sithi bangasali, kasisuthi ring basikasala. So that is a program okufuneka ukuthi isincedise ukurejistara ama-ECDs, ukwalocate ukuthi akuphi ama-ECDs, ngoba enye into esiyibonile evezwe kakhulu COVID-19 ukuthi sithe masidevelopa ama-plan woku-intervene sathola ukuthi hey man kunama-ECD amaningi kakhulu angekho registered. Sasibuza ukuthi ke laba bangekho registered siyofika kanjani kubo. Le program yevangasali siyivulele ukuthi nalabo who are not registered, this is the time for them to register, because when they register bane advantage yokuthi uhulumende abhekane nabo ngqo, azi ukuthi bakuphi azi ukuthi even izinto abazenzayo lapho ku-ECD ziya ngomthetho njengoba nje kune-act, ziya ngokuthi nabantwana nabazali mababeka abantwana babo la kuma-ECD babe ne-comfort ukuthi mababashiya lapho babashiye endaweni ekhuselekile. Into yokuthi si-improve ama-ECD, ngibona ukuthi i-focus yethu must be in the rural areas, must be in the townships, because sitholile ukuthi ama-ECD amaningi ngempela awenzi lento okufuneka ukuthi bayenze ukuze bakhulise abantwana. But-ke uhulumende, umsebenzi wakahulumende ukuthi we must do the monitoring, the evaluation, the planning and everything. Ngiyathemba ukuthi lokho esikuthole esikufundile kwi-COVID-19 kuzosinceda ukuthi sibe ne-focus emsebenzini wethu.
Ngiyabonga, Ngqongqoshe. So let's go to Honorable Matebula for the next follow-up.
Khensa mutshamaxitulu mi ta ni khomela ku vulavula ni nga pfulela camera ni huma emakaya ku hava netiweke laha ni huma kona. Minister, the main concern brought forward with regard to the planned migration to ECD to DBE has been the quality of practitioners for early childhood development. We are concerned about the entrusting the early childhood development to people who are not educators and not qualified nor skilled enough to deal with children, especially with children with special needs and learning challenges. What measures will you put in place to ensure that qualified practitioners are employed in ECD centers, especially from disadvantaged communities in rural areas and townships?
Over to you, Honorable Minister.
Honorable Member, Namina Nakensa. I wish I could just go. I'll get there, don't worry. One day I will answer this question, you know, exactly the way you are. But at least say, right? Yes. So
yeah, I saw. Yeah, me right.
Yeah, in answering your question, Honorable Member, as I indicated earlier on, really, I must upfront say the whole issue of professionals, of practitioners, the first 26 years that we say we have done our best to transform and to change. And what I also want to recall that, by the way, we are changing systems that were different of almost 9 countries, and we pulled that into one. So the Department of Social Development, working with the Department of Higher Education as well as the Department of Education, needs to look at what we've been able to do in the past, but also look at the demands of today. Because yesterday was different, today is different. So it's important for us to continuously look for better solutions, look for better empowering of our human resource, because if we don't empower your human resource, it becomes very difficult for them to deliver on the ground. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. The last one for you will be by Honorable DC Christians.
Thank you very much, Deputy Chairperson. It's true that the people of South Africa are held hostage by an incapable government. They merely need to be shown what a good government looks like by looking at the Western Cape. It is indeed unfortunate that to date the people of South Africa are still exposed to hunger, poverty, and so much more under an ANC government. The Department of Social Development has to date failed in its intention to transfer ECD to basic education. And the totally inadequate response to the impact of COVID-19 on young children has called into question the department's commitments to the rights of children that are enshrined in Section 28 of our Constitution. While the country waits for the transition of ECD to basic education, how far is the implementation of the amended proposal which was submitted to National Treasury at the end of August for the allocation of 1.3 billion to an ECD package to enable ECD operators to provide their staff with a basic stipend that would allow them to revive their services? Have ECD centers been assisted yet? If not, why not? If so, what are the relevant details? Thank you very much.
That is why you are
Honorable
losing
Minister, over to you.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. You know, honorable member, respectfully, I will say this to you. I guess you are doing politics there, and I try by all means to move myself away from the politics because I'm a minister for all South Africans. So I try to move away because if you start talking to me about the Western Cape, I don't want to start talking about Khayelitsha, Philippi, and Gugulethu and all that. I don't want to get into that politics because it belongs somewhere else. But my answer to you, honorable member, is that you will recall, let me start here. We are engaging with Treasury. And we are engaging with Treasury because out of the employment stimulus package that President Cyril Ramaphosa has been speaking about, we have to make sure that we are not lost in that. Also, we do have the conditional grant that we are currently providing for PPEs and additional support for ECDs. Now, again, I'm like, you are bringing politics into the matter because you are busy telling me that the people must know which government they need in power and all that, and you're making comparisons and all that. This minister sitting here in front of you is responsible for the entire country, including the Western Cape. We don't discriminate when it comes to the resources that we need to give to provinces and all. We do not say that, oh, the Western Cape is this and that. No, we give all the necessary money to everybody, and we want everybody to be held accountable in all the 9 provinces. My responsibility, when we talk about the economic stimulus, when we talk about the conditional grant, when we talk about additional support for ECDs and all, as a national government, we cover all provinces. And as a national government, through the MINMAC that I normally hold with all the MECs, and I must really thank the MECs of all the provinces, by the way, including the Western Cape. Those MECs, they come to meetings. They are very constructive in the meetings. They are looking for solutions for our people. And I wish to thank them because I work very well with them. But also, as a government, we are a government of the people, by the people. We will continue to respond to the needs of the people. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. Yes, for giving yourself thank you for the very capable way to respond to the issues that was raised by everyone. Thank you. I will now give back to the chairperson for him to continue with the Minister for Human Settlements, Water and Sanitation. Over to you, Honorable Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Chair. Now we're back with the Ministry of Human Settlement, Water and Sanitation. And I would like to call the Minister on Human Settlements, Water and Sanitation to respond to question number 133 asked by Honorable TSC Dodov. Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Chairperson, and good afternoon to all. The question 133 asked by Honorable Dodovo takes us into an area that is very fraught with problems, Honorable Chair. This year has been a particularly difficult year for water and sanitation, especially in that particular area, amongst others. And I had to rack my brains to find out how to package it in such a way that it fits into the timeframes that we have. Fortunately, Honorable Chair, we had the opportunity when we had COVID to brief the NCOP about what the problems were and what we were doing about the problems. So I'm assuming that there is a kind of background information canvas that will assist us in answering most of the questions that we have here, especially this one. We also had the opportunity, Chair, to have a meeting with the Select Committee. The Select Committee had asked us to come and respond to almost the same kind of question that we have here. And we brought the CEO of Citibank and myself to the meeting and explained the problems that we were experiencing in Maluti Apofung. But before I go into detail, I just wanted to indicate what it is that the Department of Water and Sanitation is responsible for, what the municipalities are responsible for, because I have found with time that there is not a clear distinction about what the roles are. And if you'll give me time, I would like to say that Schedule 4 of the Constitution places the function of provision of water services to local government municipalities. And Section 154 then places a responsibility on national and provincial government to support and regulate local government in carrying out the mandate that is directly given by the Constitution to local government. Section 9 of the Water Services Act prescribes that the minister may from time to time develop compulsory national norms, which we have done, to ensure that the water services authorities, which are the municipalities, function in a particular way. Section 84 of the Municipal Structures Act mandates the municipalities which are responsible for potable water and domestic waste disposal. Therefore, the department acting through the minister is the custodian of water in terms of the National Water Act and is responsible for ensuring that water as a resource is allocated equitably and used beneficially. However, potable water remains the responsibility of a particular municipality. This is where we are now with Maluti Apofung. Maluti Apofung has a particularly challenging situation. It has experienced a drought. Over and above the drought that it experienced in the past year, it also has been put under administration. So it is a municipality under administration. All of those have worked towards making this a particularly fragile environment over a number of issues. But what are we doing to provide? We have provided Maluti Apofung a total of 5.9 billion through our regional bulk infrastructure grant to make sure that water and sanitation infrastructure for the year 2020-21 are looked after. We further provided a 4 billion through the Water Services Infrastructure Grant to fund water sanitation projects countrywide, and they would have had a share of that. With regard to Maluti Apofung municipality, a total of 9 projects are currently under implementation because it is prone to a certain level of dry environment. The total allocation for these projects amounts to 190 million. And since 2012, a total of 7 water supply projects costing 309 million were completed in Maluti Apofung local municipality, with funding provided by Water and Sanitation. The Honourable Member, I will provide you with a breakdown of the money and the projects that we have in Maluti Apofung. And I just want to go over some of them. We have the Sterkfontein Phase 1 project.
As you do that, Minister, please note that the total time allocated for you to respond to your question is 5 minutes.
Okay,
now,
sir.
We will balance that with perhaps responding and providing the details in writing.
My sincerest apologies, sir. I will observe that.
Yes, because 5 minutes is actually over now.
Pardon?
That's a difficulty. Why don't we say you would need to provide that information,
yes,
and then allow Honorable Todobu to
yes, sir.
raise a follow-up question as the first, raise the first supplementary question and take it from there. Honorable Dodovo.
Yes, thank you very much, Chairperson, and thank you very much, the Minister, for your responses. I'm quite happy that the Minister acknowledges that in Malutia Pofun, there are problems which need to be attended to, because since 2012, the people of Malutia Pofun are suffering severely because of water shortages, and that millions of rands were spent in that respect. But I'm also happy, Chair, that the department, in conjunction with COGTA, has unearthed malfeasances and acts of corruption in the water projects in Malutia Pofun. What I want to establish from the Minister is to check whether are there any culprits to date that are brought to book as a result of your efforts to ensure that there is proper financial management in Malutia Pofun. Thank you very much.
Yes, Minister, we have 4 minutes.
Honorable Dodovu, what we did when we discovered that there was a great deal of bad administration in Malutia Pofun, including possibly criminality, we decided that we would end the term of the board while we investigate the board there, and also working together with the Minister of COGTA, investigate any possible corruption in Malutia Pofun itself. We have not yet concluded our investigations, Honorable Member. All the Minister of COGTA did was to put that municipality under administration, and we are required to ensure that we give it all the necessary support. As soon as our investigations are over, we will come back to the House and report to them in the same way as we reported to them on how we were dealing with the problem of the drought that occurred in that particular place. So nobody has been brought to book yet, because we are continuing with the investigation, Chair. Honorable Member.
Thank you very much. We'll move on to the second supplementary question from Honorable H.S. Boshoff. Honorable Boshoff.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair, and good afternoon to the Minister. Minister, I've just heard you say that this municipality has been placed under administration and it's gone through a lot of drought, and that you have 9 projects under implementation, and a 5.9 billion infrastructure grant has been made available to this municipality. But we all know that this municipality's bank account has been attached by Eskom, and contractors cannot be paid, etc., etc. And they are implementing a critical water infrastructure. Projects have been implemented. Minister, what is of concern then is, if it's under administration and so much money is going to be made available and the bank account has been attached to Eskom, how are we going to ensure that the money that has been made available is made use of properly, and that the projects are protected from not collapsing, and that the people's right to water is not compromised? Thank you, Honourable Chair.
Honourable Minister.
Thank you very much. Yes, indeed, the municipality has been placed under administration, and we are investigating a great deal of what could have gone wrong in that particular municipality. Yes, I do know that Eskom has taken legal action against the municipality, and I do know that the municipality now is unable to utilize its bank account. However, the 9 projects and the money that I'm referring to does not go to the municipality. It goes to the water board that services and assists the municipality in keeping it
afloat. And therefore, the projects that we're talking about under the stewardship of the water board, which is called CGB. So we are not affected in terms of the line of production of the infrastructure there. Where we are affected is that the municipality is completely unable to do the barest, even in terms of putting out the water tanks that we sent out there. There were pictures that were floating about showing that the tanks are still kept in the municipality offices for reasons that we do not know. But we do have a water board, and from time to time, we do find a way of intervening to make sure that we can assist them in providing the necessary basic water in that area. But it shows red flags on a regular occasion, and I know that the people of Maluti Apofung are very frustrated because they do not have the water that you and I have because of their geographic area, because of the administration in the place as well. But we're doing everything we can to assist them, Honorable Member.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. The third supplementary question comes from the EFF, Honorable S. Sandamela. Sandamela?
Yes, thanks, Chairperson. Minister, part of the reasons water is inaccessible to many communities is because of the municipalities that default on payments to Renwood. Currently, water pressure in Mfuleni, in the Val Gavenenberg and Victor Kanye in Mpumalanga will be reduced by 20% due to non-payment to Renwood. What measures does your department plan to put in place to ensure that non-payment does not become a norm in those municipalities? Thank you, Chairperson.
Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, for the last week, we have been having discussions with the study group, with the portfolio committee, joint min-maxed with COCTA, because this is a head-splitting crisis that we are faced with. What to do with those municipalities that are not able to pay. The rate at which they're not able to pay is extremely high. And if they're not able to pay for their water, we're not able to supply them with water because we need that revenue. The amount of money that we are owed by municipalities is 15 billion rands. Now, if we put that 15 billion rands back into our account, imagine how many dams we would be able to put into our system. Imagine how much we would be able to assist those municipalities. But there is just a serious crisis that we have to overcome. We've been sitting on this matter, and at a time that is convenient, I think we will ask to come and brief the NCOP, the two ministers together, to see how we are solving the problem. Because we're not getting any joy right now. Municipalities are unable to pay for the water. We are unable to find additional resources from Treasury to provide them with water. And it is keeping us up all night. Every night we're going into this matter, seeing how we can solve this. One thing that we are committed to is that we should give our people water because it is a right and it is an essential part of their lives. But what the member is asking is head splitting. We are stuck with that problem, and maybe you will help us as the council to see how we can deal with this matter.
Thank you very much. Fourth and last supplementary question comes from Honorable A.B. Klute. Honorable Klute.
Thank you, Chairperson. Thank you, Minister, because this is a serious issue we need to attend to, and thank you for acknowledging that the Free State municipalities overall is in dire straits with this issue. My concern is the following. We are looking at Sedibeng water to be a possible answer to the problem. But during the provincial week, and you will probably know this as well, Sedibeng indicated that it's technically insolvent. So my question is, now we're looking at a situation where Maluti Apofong, who was under administration, will rely on Sedibeng to get water, who's insolvent. So is this really the correct fix?
Honourable Minister.
The reason I was indicating, Honourable Klute, that the Minister of COGTA and myself are having sleepless nights is precisely this head-splitting conundrum that we're stuck with. Sedibeng is bankrupt because the Free State municipality is not able to pay. Most of the municipalities around there are unable to pay. We have approached Treasury to see if they cannot top slice money that has been put aside for the municipalities in their adjustment bill, top slice it and give it to us so that we're able to provide Sedibeng with the necessary resources for them to be able to perform the responsibilities that would otherwise be performed by the municipality. When we're done with our negotiations with the Minister of COGTA, we're hoping that the Minister of Finance will agree, and that would solve our problem. If it is not possible, we will come back to you, the two of us, to say, look, we are in this crisis. It is a crisis. We are getting our climate is not, it's an inclement climate. We're getting drier and drier. The only province that seems to have, had some success is the Western Cape. It has had its dams filled to 100% for the first time in 100 years. Everywhere else, we're experiencing serious drought. In those areas, we are unable to collect money from the municipalities, and the water boards are absolutely broke. It's a conundrum that we can only solve together with yourselves.
Thank you very much, Minister. The next question is a question on land invasion crisis. And this question is from C. Fessel and is directed to the Minister. Honorable Minister.
Thank you. Is it Honorable Minister, Chairperson?
Oh, sorry. Yes, Minister first.
Honorable Fessel, allow me first. Allow me first before you come in, Honorable Fessel. Yes, the matter of the land invasion is a matter that brought me to Cape Town to sit down with the mayor of Cape Town, because they were one of the most affected areas, and also was so too was Gauteng. Our analysis was that these were people who were in dire straits for one reason or another, but there were some elements that were taking advantage of this situation. We had the opportunity to meet with communities that were taking the kind of action during the lockdown that they did take, and they explained to us something that we had missed in our calculation around that particular period of COVID. And we're working around how we can deal with it. We have developed a new policy, Honorable Member, which will be placed before Cabinet in the next Cabinet that we have, of land release, so that we can release land, so that where there is pressure, justifiable pressure, which we can offer, which we can measure as well, people will be able to build their own houses. But COVID did bring a great deal of distress to a number of homes, and the regulations around COVID were very specific, that nobody, no municipality, no segment of government may evict anybody during that particular period, nor may land be invaded by anybody. But the land issue in its totality and the lessons that we have learned have driven us to create a new policy, which will then lead to an amendment of our legislation.
Thank you very much, Minister. The first supplementary question is from Honorable Fessel. Honorable Fessel.
Thank you, Chair. Honorable Minister, sorry, my apology. Honorable Minister, do you intend to address land invasion crisis A, through an amendment, and or B, by introducing new legislation would require Parliament to consider the provisions that address the prevention of the implementation of Prevention of Illegal Eviction from the Unlawful Occupation of Land Act 1998. If not, why not? If so, what are the relevant details? Thank you.
Honourable Minister.
Honourable member, yes, indeed, that's exactly what it is that I was talking about. That the department is considering policy that deals with the situation that faced us. We will provide yourselves with the policy after it has been approved by Cabinet, and we will put that policy into practice and see how it works. Then we will amend the legislation. We can't go to the legislation without actually checking whether what we are amending is going to work. We have macro policy that we're dealing with, and when that is presented to yourself, you will be able to see what it is that we are dealing with and how we hope to amend it.
Thank you very much. The second supplementary question comes from Honourable S. Zandamela. Honourable Zandamela.
Chairperson, I'll take that question.
Please do.
Thank you. Minister, what Parliament should be focusing on currently is fast-tracking the process of amending Section 25 of the Constitution to allow the expropriation of land. This in turn will remove the notion of illegal occupation of land or land invasion. It is to be noted that the majority of people that still need land are Black people, and the pursuit of forcefully removal for so-called land invaders is removing Black people from their own land. Minister, do you not think that Parliament ought to speed up the process of amending Section 25 of the Constitution instead of criminalizing Black people for the failure of your department to provide them with adequate housing? Thank you.
Honourable Minister.
No, Honourable Zandamela. I hope it is Zandamela that I'm.
It's Lutuli now.
It's Honourable Lutuli. No, you are jumping several steps to go to the Constitution. The matter of the Constitution is still under consideration, and we are dealing with that matter. But right now, what we're dealing with is what are we going to do about the problem of people who are invading land. So what we have done is to consult those various municipalities that have been affected by land invasions to say to them, we're putting in place a policy that will make it possible for us to contain this situation. That policy will be going to Cabinet, and as soon as Cabinet has approved that policy, it will be put into legislation, or the various pieces of legislation that are affected by that will be amended. Section 25, whether or not it is there or not, the various instruments that we are working on now will need to be amended to make sure that we are able to release land to people, to make sure that they are encouraged to build houses for themselves as we go along. The matter of Section 25 does not belong to this particular discussion. We all are aware that Black people have had their land taken away from them. We have all considered that something must be done, which is why this matter is under consideration. But right now we're talking about what do we do about those people who forcefully occupy land. And what we have done in that case is look at policy. And what we have right now under lockdown is no municipality, no province may forcefully evict anybody. It is illegal. And we have taken those municipalities, we have done that to court. Nobody is allowed to occupy land that does not belong to them. That is illegal. And that is illegal, and we have taken action against those people. So you, Honorable Lutuli, are jumping to the final conclusion. We have to take one step at a time to make sure that we are able to cope with this situation on time. The amendment of the Constitution will take a long time. What we're dealing with right now, we will be able to get over in about 2 weeks' time.
Thank you very much, Minister. The third supplementary question from Honorable S.E. Mfaela. Honorable Mfaela.
Honorable Chairperson Nyambose, Honorable Minister. Honorable Minister, does your department have any mechanism in place to deliver housing to people who have been staying in transit camps for over years without any proper housing? Thank you, Madam.
Honorable Minister.
Honorable Mfaela, that is a question that both yourselves and ourselves will need to respond to. We do have the capacity to deliver houses. We do not have the budget to deliver houses to everybody at the same time. So in those areas where we need the land to build on, we have requested the occupants of that land to provide us with the space so that we can put in the and be able to build. And they have been living in TRAs. The intention is that as soon as the houses are up, they will be put into their own houses. Each person in a TRA ideally should know which house is his or hers as it is being built. We need to clear the area, especially when it is an area that is what is called an evergreen area, because we can't build on top of informal settlements. We've got to clear the area, we've got to even it out, we've got to put in infrastructure and make sure that the houses that we build are on solid ground. That is why we put people in TRAs. It is not our intention to keep them there forevermore. Our intention is to build as quickly as possible, but we also have other impediments that come our way. Finance is one of them. The COVID did hold us back for quite a long time. But as soon as it is down to zero now, we will be building up on scale. We have been showcasing what we've been doing so that people can understand that, in fact, we were not sitting on our hands. We are building houses so that as soon as it is possible for us, we will be putting people in decent houses, which is what we have promised them. TRAs are a temporary shelter, and we want to keep it that way. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The fourth and the last supplementary question is from Honorable Z.V. Neta. Honorable Neta.
Ngosihlalo wendlu manibulele. Ndibulise kumphathiswa wokulungiswa ukuhlala kwabantu kwakunye namanzi nogutyulo lelindle kwakunabaphathiswa ahamba nabo nee-colleagues zam amalungu epalamente namagosa akhoyo. Sihlalo ndicela ukubuza kuminister ukuba uyiqwalasele na into yokuba apha kweli phondo lentshona koloni abantu bahleli ngokungathandekiyo, iimeko abaphila kuzo zimbi kakhulu and ayizozomntu ophilayo. Bahlala ematyotyombeni kwiindawo ezimbi kakhulu sihlala. Into endinqwenela uyazi ke kumphathiswa umama uLindwe Sisulu ukuba ingaba i-department le inanjongo zini zokuhlangula aba bantu bahlala kule meko imbi kangaka ingakumbi bemnyama, ezawuqinisekisa into yoba bayakhutshwa kule meko bakuyo yokuba behlele ematyotyombeni iimeko zimbi. Ndiwubuza ke lo mbuzo ngoba iphondo sihlalo zinayo iprogram ebeziyenza apha eBhayi, ziyenza naphaya eMonti yokuqinisekisa into yoba abantu bayahlengahlengiswa ingakumbi kweli xesha leCOVID. Enkosi.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister.
Enkosi Sihlalo, kamandi ndithetha nabantu abayaziyo le meko. U-Honorable Ncitha lo ebeke wayimember yenantsika ye-council yase-East London. So uyayazi imeko esithetha ngayo. Usihlalo lo sithetha naye ebeke mayor waseGauteng. So siyayazi sonke siyayazi le meko. Sijongene nayo every year in and year out. Asilali ebusuku sijongene nale meko uba sikhuphe abantu bethu kule kule ndawo bakuyo sibabeke endaweni esibona uba noko besiyilwela uba sibanike i-dignity ebalingeneyo. Akho nto esingayenzanga, Honourable Member, to make sure uba wonke umntu, to the extent that it is possible, ufumana indlu. Sisebenza ebusuku nemini, nangoku ndithetha nani nje, uDeputy Minister wam Honourable Pam Twete use-East London ujongene nalaa project leya ebesijonge uba by now sabe sisuse abantu from i-TRAs sibabeke endaweni zabo. Sisebenzela loo nto, Honourable Member, uba abantu bethu sibakhuphe ebugxwayibeni, abantu bethu bahlale njengawo wonke omnye umntu endaweni edecent. Akho nto singayenzi suku nemini sisebenza le nto. Singavuya, Honourable Member, nisijoyine ni-NCOP. Senze i-oversight nani. Sibonisane uba singazilungisa njani ezinye izinto ezi. Sinawo amacebo esinawo, but from time to time ungamandi uba sisebenzisane nani, siye kweza provinces zenu, sijonge uba singenza ntoni, siconvince nabantu. Enye into esiyibona iyingxaki ebantwini, uxa bengayivumeli le policy esiyifuna ukuyi-implementa, but asiyifuni le, sifuna le. Enye into ibe ngabantu aba-occupya umhlaba. Umhlaba sithi siwulungisela uba sisakhe izindlu, kubekho aba-occupya umhlaba. Ndingayivuyela into yoba sijonge sisonke, sincedisane, because there is nothing greater than le dignity yomntu onendlu yakhe. So ke ndivuyela le nto yoba ukhona, nikhona nonke, ndinesicelo uba xa nenze i-inspection apha ku-provinces, sicela nisi-invite, sihambe nani, sithethe nabantu ekuhlaleni, senze sure uba nezi zindlu bazinikiweyo abazithengisi. Abantu bakowenu, Honourable Zukiso, ayazithengisa izindlu zabo. Bayazithengisa, Honourable Chairperson, eRhawutini baphinde bazithengisele abantu abaphuma phandle. No foreigner has any right to a free house from government. Bona, they can rent houses, they can do whatever, but abanalungelo loku owner izindlu esizinika abantu bethu. But abantu bethu bayazithengisa izindlu zabo. So when we are together on this trail, Honourable Chair, ungamandi sibabuza abantu bethu zithengiselwa ntoni izindlu. But into esijongile ngoku, Honourable is that sinike abantu umhlaba bazakhele. Sifuna uba sibafundise uzakhela, bazimele nabo bakwazi uba xa sebegqibile apho bangaya kwezinye indawo sebengono-contract. Besine nantsika besine ngqungquthela no-contractor bomama. It was very heartening to see how many women are in the construction industry. So we are actually growing the industry. And the basis of our growth of our economy is that we want to make sure that everybody has a house. But right now we want to make sure that we can empower people by giving them land and they build on that land themselves, together with members of the NCOP.
Thank you very much, Minister. The next question is a question on informal settlements and identified for upgrading. This question is from Honourable A. Arnold and is directed to the Minister. Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, in line with our business plan for 2020-21 that was submitted to us by the various provinces, we have 901 informal settlements in the country that are now ready to be upgraded in accordance with a policy that we call Upgrading of Informal Settlements Program, UISP. The timeframes that we have set out for the commencement and completion of upgrading of identified informal settlements, I think that it should be noted right now that some informal settlements will be a multi-year project as opposed to a once-off project, depending on the scale of the numbers that we're dealing with, depending on the topography, the land on which they are on, depending on how much bulk infrastructure we have in that particular area, and many other variables. But we have identified these 901 informal settlements, and we are going to make sure that we upgrade these 901 informal settlements within the shortest possible time. And a detailed project report has been completed on how we're going to do this as part of our work. Unfortunately, we did experience COVID-19, and it brought most of our work into a screeching halt, but we have since started, and we are hoping that we will be building at every possible site that we have, because apart from just building and providing shelter, it will mean a great deal to the improvement of our economy if we're able to provide jobs and have the kind of investment into property such as we hope to have. So we have worked out something that we have borrowed from the Second World War and from General Marshall. We have a Marshall Plan to make sure that as soon as it is possible, we will roll out and ensure that all these 901 informal settlements are attended to as speedily as possible. This will mean close cooperation with the municipalities, making sure that all of those areas can be given over to us to be able to put in the necessary infrastructure. As you know, Chairperson, and the Honorable Nita will know, and honorable members will know, sometimes we face a great deal of resistance from people in an area as we try to improve the area. We have taken on board the services and support of a number of NGOs who deal with informal settlements, so as to talk to our people in a language that they can understand, that this is absolutely necessary. Our economy will have a revival such as has never been seen before if we're able to deal with these 901 projects that we have identified. We've put aside the necessary resources, necessary energy, and we would like our people to give us the space to be able to do what we need to do.
Thank you very much. The first supplementary question is from Honorable Arnold. Honorable Arnold.
Thank you, Chairperson, and also thank you to the Minister for the response on the question. Minister, it must be emphasized that the upgrading of informal settlements cannot be an outright success with the actual participation of the beneficiaries themselves. This has been one of the major shortcomings of most of the planning which took place during previous years. It is very much important that informal settlements must be sustainable human settlements geared to improve access to services, dignified and quality homes. Now, dealing with informal settlements is a matter of inequality, and this inequality is both social and spatial in nature. The physical conditions of informal settlements and their informal status itself often pose a serious threat to the well-being of communities. Now, just in terms of the housing code, Minister, which also deals with incremental interventions, what is your plans in terms of suitable land for informal settlements? Because if we don't have suitable land, we're going to put the people in the same spaces where they are. We must take them out of those areas and put them on suitable land close to economic activities. Thank you.
Honorable Minister.
Honorable Arnold, I've been in this portfolio now for 3 terms. What you're saying is something I know even in my sleep. It is easier said than done. If you take the N2 Gateway project here, when you drive out of Parliament to go to the airport, we are still not done with that. Our intention was to put our people in better places and take them away from places that are not suitable for them. 1, they resisted. 2, they took us to court, and therefore took the authority of determining where and how we build into the hands of the law. And the courts have taken over the management of that project. The project has been running for 15 years and more now, something that we could have finished on time. Now, what we're doing is we have engaged the services of NGOs to assist us to talk to. It's easy for you and I to see the logic of taking people out of where they are and putting them in better places. They might not want that. You saw that in Gauteng. The people in Schuetla don't want to move because your logic and their logic are very different. So we need to engage with them and see how we can upgrade them either in the places where they are or take them to better places. It's a story of our lives. The Honorable Chair will tell you about that. He was unable to persuade many of his people to go to better places so that we can give them houses. But if we work with them, and especially work with yourselves so that you don't occupy land that we have identified to build houses for the indigent, then it would work so much better. If housing the poor can become
Honorable Arnold, what's your point of order?
My point of order, Chairperson, the Minister is now
ask a
getting very
question and then
personal.
expect for answer again.
Honorable Arnold, that's not the point of order.
Personal, yeah.
Just become a bit more tolerant.
No, it's a point of order, Chairperson. You must rule.
And listen to
the Minister mustn't be
the response to your question. You get your opportunity later on to articulate your own position and to say your say. Honorable Minister,
Chairperson, can I answer?
Please proceed.
I am not being personal. I am, pardon? Can you hear me, Chairperson?
No, Honorable Minister, let's not have a dialogue. Let's just stick to your response.
Yes. No,
Arnold will get his own time to speak.
Chairperson, what
Please
I
proceed.
am saying, yes, what I am saying, I am conveying to himself as well the truth. I met with members of the EFF when they had indicated to me that they're going to occupy land. I met with members of the EFF when they were being evicted from one of the informal settlements there. I've been there more times than you have, Honorable Arnold, and I do know how they feel. We have had discussions. I have asked them to come along and work with us, and they have. So what I am saying is not personal at all. We want all parties to work with us for our programs to succeed. And therefore, I'm appealing to you directly in the same way as I appealed to those members of the EFF to come and work with us. And they have worked with us. And we've been very grateful for that. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you very much. The second supplementary question comes from Honorable A.B. Klute. Honorable Klute.
Thank you, Chairperson. Thank you, Minister. I almost want to say if the shoe fits, but I won't say that. Minister, upgrading is one thing, but it's something else and completely different to ensure sustainable and reliable access to services such as water. We know this. So I'd like to thank you for your reply received in terms of upgrades at Masonyana municipality, especially in Brandfort, where residents experience water interruptions. But Minister, with all due respect, this appears to be crisis management, and I know the reasons why you're going to say it is. But we need to look forward as well. So what are the department's plans to ensure reliable water services in these areas after upgrades have been finalized?
Minister.
Honorable Klute. Thank you. Honorable Klute, the reason why our preferred way of dealing with upgrades is to get cleared land, which is why we put people in temporary shelter so we can put the infrastructure, because we cannot put infrastructure where people are living. And this is where we face the greatest difficulty, because people become very reluctant to leave, go to temporary shelter, and we have to explain to them that to put bulk infrastructure, we have to dig huge tunnels under the ground to be able to carry the sewer, to be able to put water in there. And now that we're talking about it and all parties are here, we are hoping that we can speak with one voice about assessing the need to time and make sure that there is water infrastructure, there is sanitation infrastructure, because otherwise what we're doing is leaving people in the same conditions without the necessary amenities, and they need those amenities. Our definition of human settlements is houses that have schools next to them, that have clinics next to them, a police station, and all of these amenities, which are not possible when you are upgrading people as they are living in that particular close-up place. So I'm glad, Honorable Chair, that we are here, all of us with various parties, to understand that we need to ask our people to work with us so that we can fast-track our delivery. A lot of time, our delivery is held back because of the resistance from our people who feel that they don't want to leave the places that they're living in, even though in the long run, it becomes a much better place for them to get back to, because it has all the necessary amenities. And we can prove that when we have the opportunity. We can prove that with all the areas where we've asked people to shift, for us to put infrastructure, for us to build other amenities that are necessary for complete human settlements, to build schools, to build shopping malls, to create a place where small businesses are able to operate, and all of those things. So in our upgrade program, we have all of that included as part of what we are doing. And from time to time, we have MINMEC, and at MINMEC, we discuss each one of these projects, first with the MECs, and we invite the local government that is responsible, so that we're speaking with one voice and working towards the same end. And where we've had success, it has been great success. And where we've had blockages, we are still standing in the same place that we were standing in 15 years ago.
Thank you very much. The third supplementary question is from Honorable B.M. Bartlett. Honorable Bartlett.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Good afternoon, Minister. I just want to find out, Honorable Chair, can the Minister please explain? Can the Minister, Honorable Minister, please explain the position of the Ministry regarding to the multi-million rand project checks built for our people in Limpopo and in Harry Smith in the Free State? What is the department done to correct this unfortunate development that strip our people from their dignity? Thank you very much, Honorable Chair.
Honorable Minister.
The ministry had nothing to do with the planning. However, what we did do was to put in place a process of understanding what had gone wrong. And we have discovered what had gone wrong, and we are making sure that it doesn't happen ever again. The place that was built in Limpopo did not have the sanction of the ministry at all. It was meant to be TRAs. However, there wasn't enough oversight over that project to be able to ensure that all the standards were kept. The Premier apparently went to the area even before it was completed. It was still in progress. And I'm certain that he didn't know that the matter was, the checks were, whatever it is called now, were work in progress. That was work in progress that he had unfortunately gone to go and open one of those places. We have since sent our HDA, Housing Development Agency, to find out what needs to be done, but that was meant to be a temporary shelter place where we are able to de-densify those areas in line with COVID-19. It's a project that went very pear-shaped and was very badly handled, and there was no cooperation between ourselves and that particular project over there. We learned about it at about the same time as everybody else learned about it on television. But we have done everything necessary and possible to make sure that we understand, and if there was anything that was untoward that was done, those people will bear the consequences of that. But it was unfortunate the Premier was not properly briefed, and between the board that was put out there of a multi-million rand project and what was on the ground was completely different. It is not the kind of place we would have sanctioned. It is not the kind of place that we would have allowed people to move into. If it was, I myself would have been there. Thank you
very much, Minister. The fourth and the last supplementary question comes from Honorable C. Fesser. Honorable Fesser.
Chairperson.
Okay. Labuskakne, yes.
Thank you.
Please proceed.
Thank you. Chair, Honourable Minister, the ANC in the Parliament cut more than 2.26 billion rand from the Department of Human Settlements annual budget during this year's COVID-19 supplementary budget adjustment. Of the 2.26 billion erased from the Housing Department's budget, 1.7 billion was cut from the Human Settlements Development Grant, and 1.1 billion was cut from the Urban Settlements Grant. The Urban Settlements Grant is used by provinces, as you know, and some accredited municipalities to build formal houses that are awarded with title deeds. The USDG is used by densely populated municipalities that are to ensure that our country's poorest residents living in informal settlements have access to services like taps and toilets. The Title Deeds Restoration Grant, which was identified as a priority program by the department during 2018-19, but has sadly seen little progress since, was reduced by 377 million rand. What has the impacts of these cuts been on the department's ability to continue delivering formal, breaking new ground houses to desperate South Africans and address the national housing backlog? Thank you.
Honourable Minister.
Honourable Labuskagni, your gripe is my gripe. So we are both of us on the same side on this one. I would not have wanted to give away a penny from my budget, but unfortunately we had to cater for the fact that we did have COVID, and therefore in the midterm adjustment budget, a number of other factors affected the redistribution of the resources. We will just have to make sure that we can make up for this by perhaps doing things differently, so that we do not have a shortfall in the output that we have. But that this is how we had it, and we've accepted it. And it wasn't just the ANC, it was the Department of Finance trying to readjust the budget to make sure that we can cater for the huge costs that COVID that we experienced during COVID. And we didn't budget for COVID. It's just something that happened. It was just one of those things, and somewhere somebody had to make sure that the country and the government still run. And this is the consequence of what happened in my case. It might have happened in other cases as well. The USDG is as important to me as the grant itself, because in the USDG, I have come to an agreement with the levels that have USDG to say this is what I would like to see out of the USDG, and we signed a contract around what it is that the USDG is going to do. Apart from anything else, I have been very determined that we will have clean towns, that we will not have trash all over the place, that we will have our potholes repaired, and etc. Apart from the housing itself, because we deal with the entirety of the urban settlement that we're responsible for. So my heart bleeds as much as your heart bleeds around the fact that we don't have the resources that we had planned to utilize at the beginning, but that is how the dice, that is how the dice was thrown, and that is how it landed. We will have to find a way of trying to make up for it in the outer year. On the issue of the restoration of the title deeds, that is indeed a really big problem for us. At the last MINMAC that we had some years ago with members of the provinces, we had agreed on a separation of several phases of this restoration of title deeds. I had said to them, because I have the capacity, I would like to take all the title deeds that predate a particular time, that predate 2014, and ensure that we are able to deal with them as a national government. And the municipalities, together with the provinces, would deal with all other title deeds after that. We agreed in principle, but it hasn't happened. And the truth of the matter is that provinces have a certain level of independence where they can decide what to do about certain things and whether or not they will be bound by joint decisions. They have not been bound by joint decisions in this case. And therefore, we have this situation here. And if I were to have it my way, I would have legislation passed that actually says that, we ring fence title deeds from a particular year going back and make sure that it is put in a central pool to be dealt with by national government, if the provinces will allow that. If they allow that, we will be able to fast track the issue of title deeds. It remains a real big problem because without the title deed, the house itself is not worth the value that we have attached to it. And on a yearly basis, the value of the house goes up. And the people who have those houses are not able to take advantage of the value of the house because we are not able to give them their title deeds on time. But we are working on this. And as I indicated a little earlier, the Deputy Minister who is in the Eastern Cape has a particular passion for title deeds. She has been giving them out whenever she has the time. And we would like to fast track this process. It is a burden on our shoulders that we would like to ensure is not ours, but is an advantage and an asset for the people who own those houses. But we have to get the concurrence of the provinces because that rests with the provinces. It's not a national competence, it's a provincial competence.
Thank you very much, Minister. The next question is question 123. This question is on senior management in acting positions, tabled by Honorable Sileku, directed to the Minister. But I'm told that Honorable Sileku is not available for this purpose, and therefore Honorable Labo Skafne is standing in for Honorable Sileku. Honorable Minister.
Honorable Chair, indeed, I did say when I came in that from the Auditor General's report, it had become quite clear to me that we were dealing with a department in serious distress. Not only was it in distress because of the handling of funds, it was in distress also because so many people who had been fingered by the Auditor General's findings had either been put off on leave or had resigned. From the year 2013 to date, 11 senior managers have been found guilty, and we are in the process of concluding that. We have had several dismissals of people. In total, we have had 138 positions that have been affected by the process of the disciplinary action that has been taken over a period of time, and that has increased over the time that I indicated that we were going to have a cleanup. So what happens is when somebody is undergoing a disciplinary process, they take leave of absence so they can attend to the disciplinary case, and therefore we have somebody who's acting. When they're dismissed, there will be somebody who is acting, and this has been going on for some time. We have had to restructure, therefore, the Department of Water Affairs, and we now have a new organogram that is in line with what it is that we found has been wrong with the previous organograms and how we would like to move forward. We've completed the organogram, and as you all know, the organogram has to be signed off by the Minister of Public Service and Administration, and the Minister of Public Service and Administration on the 3rd of November 2020, a few days ago, signed off on it. So we are now able to put in advertisements to fill those posts that are vacant. So we will not have a Hollywood with people acting. We will have people who are qualified to be in those particular places. But right now, we're dealing with a problem. We're dealing with instability. We're dealing with the Auditor General's findings, which were very incriminating, and we had to do something about it. And when somebody has been found guilty in a particular place, we need to make sure that somebody is in that place to ensure that the work does continue. That's why we have so many of these. These are the result of forensic investigations and the reports that have been given to us. When we take action, the person against whom we take action has to stand aside, and we continue with the work of the department. And continuing with the work of the department means getting somebody who's equally suitable for that place to act in that place. Otherwise, the whole department would collapse.
Thank you very much. First supplementary question from Honorable Labuschagne. Honorable Labuschagne.
Thank you, Chairperson. Minister, thank you for the response. As you said, several audits and oversight bodies pointing out the dangers of institutional instability, as well as the heightened risk of fraud and corruption as a result of the continuous rotation of government employees based on the reasons that you given at the executive level. And in spite of that, you were not able to fill all these crucial posts. Instead of bringing stability to the department, you have instead opted to appoint 2 national rapid response task teams and a number of so-called advisory committees, costing the taxpayers millions of rands. And a lot has also been said about these rapid response task teams when it comes to ethics, discipline, recruitment processes, and codes of good governance. Minister, what specific legislation did you rely on in the appointment of these national rapid response task teams? And can you confirm whether or not all the members of these task teams were selected on the basis of a merit-based and competitive recruitment and selection process, free from political interference? And if so, could you be able to furnish this House with the necessary evidence? And then, Minister, in your response, you said you've got a new organogram for the Department of Water Affairs that's been signed off. How does that have impact now on the rapid response teams? Does one now take over the responsibilities of the rapid response teams, or what happens now that you've got a new organogram plus 2 rapid response teams? Thank you.
Honorable Minister.
I just want to say to Honorable Labuschagne that the 2 positions she puts forward have nothing to do with each other. The reason that we had instability in this department had to do with what was going on in this department. And we relied on the findings of the Auditor General, and we had to act on it. We put together a disciplinary committee to fast track these cases so that we have the kind of ethics in the Department of Water that would be able to carry us through. And we explained that to yourselves. That is why we have so many vacancies. And the reason why they are acting people is because the department has to function. The disciplinary processes are going ahead, and some have been found guilty, some have not been found guilty. Those who have not been found guilty have been brought back. Those who have been found guilty obviously will face the consequences. But in the meantime, we've also looked at how functional the organogram is. And in restructuring the organogram to make sure that we are able to get rid of some of the problems that we had experienced in the past, we had to submit it to the Minister of Public Service and Administration. He has since signed off on it. And everything in it is what we are now going to put in place. Now, you're talking about rapid response. In the area of the VAL, we are experiencing severe crises on the sanitation problems there. The crises are twofold. There is a flooding of sewer that comes from up north from four provinces right down to the VAL, and the VAL is not able to cope with that. It has not been upgraded for a number of years. We've got to look at how we upgrade that. What we did was to bring in some help from the military, but the military is not the correct operational machinery to deal with that. Therefore, we took some people from around the VAL because that is those are the people who are the custodians of the area, to clean up the area, to make sure that sewer does not flow into the streets. And this is allowed by legislation. And this is legislation that was passed in 1997, Chapter 7 of it, Water Services Committees. The establishment and disestablishment of water services committees, Section 51, 1, subject to subsection 2, 3, minister may, by notice of the Gazette, establish a water service committee whose job it is, and give it a name, and whose job it is to deal with a specific problem in a specific service area. It is catered for in law. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next question comes from Honorable Tetwa. Second supplementary question, Honorable Tetwa. Is Tetwa there? If he's not there, let's move on to Honorable S. Fael.
Chairperson, I'm covered. You can carry on. I'm fine.
Thank you very much. The last supplementary question comes from Honorable M.S. Mletsane. Honorable Mletsane.
Thank you, Chairperson. The Minister has partly covered me on the issue of the officials that were found guilty. I just want to for the Minister just to elaborate. For those who were found guilty, when they were expelled, is there any amongst those who were expelled because of corruption where cases have been opened against them, and those who are maybe some of them who have been arrested by now for corruption? Thank you.
Honorable Minister.
Honorable Mletsane, corruption is something that we live with on a regular basis in this environment. We've been dealing with it not only within the institution of the department, but also in the water boards. And we've been trying to ensure that we can put up very clean institutions, because we depend on these institutions to raise money in the markets to provide ourselves and everybody with water. We've been struggling in some places in getting cooperation from the police, either because their hands are full with other cases, but we have not as yet been able to to have anybody arrested. We've written to the Minister of Finance to find out why there have not been any arrests, even though we have taken the cases to the police, and we await his response. A few days ago, the SIU gave a briefing to the Portfolio Committee indicating what it was that they had been dealing with, what cases they had found, and what they're doing about it. What we do is take my personnel through disciplinary cases, and after that it becomes a police matter. And I would suggest that when the police minister gets to the House, you can check how many of our cases have been arrested. We don't execute arrests. We report the matters to the police and wait for the police to take the necessary steps. And I'm glad that Honorable Mletsane asked that question, because we are waiting for arrests of those people who have abused the resources of the state, denying millions of people who are poverty-stricken waiting for water.
Thank you very much. The next question is question 106. This question is on assistance to Free State municipalities, tabled by Honorable A.B. Klute to the Minister. Honorable Minister.
Well, the Honorable Chair, the assistance that we give to our provinces and our municipalities is granted. Whenever they need assistance, we are there to provide them with the necessary assistance. However, as I indicated at the beginning, I did read out what the Constitution says and what the constitutional mandates are of the National Department, what the constitutional mandates are of the provinces, what the constitutional mandates are of the various cities and towns at that particular level, municipalities. And where we have been asked to help, we are very happy to help. But otherwise, we do not intrude on spaces which are not ours and constitutionally not ours. But we are always there to make sure that we are providing water and infrastructure. When I started earlier on, Chairperson, I was going through a whole list of what we have done in just that municipality of Maluti Apofu. And then you reminded me that I was eating into my time. Fortuitously, the responses that we have will be tabled, so anybody who would like to go through them will find them in the House and be able to go through what it is that we're doing to assist municipalities. It is our job to make sure that the water that we are providing does get to the end user. But that process is very clearly classified by both the Constitution and the laws that we operate under. The reticulation, making sure that potable water gets to the people, is the responsibility of the municipality chair. My responsibility is to make sure that I look after the waters of the entire country, that we have reliable water supplies around the country, and all of those matters that go with it, and be able to intervene as and when there is a problem, such as a drought, as and when I am requested by a municipality or a province, I'm available to do that. But otherwise, there are very clear regulations and schedules that indicate who needs to do what at what time.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. Let's move to the first supplementary question from Honorable Klute. Honorable Klute.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Minister. I understand the different obligations of the different spheres of government, but I'll get to that just now. I would like to give the Minister a few figures, amounts that was published just this week by the Auditor General regarding water losses. Now, Mochabeng is losing 155 million rand. That's what they lost this year. Nala municipality 16 million, Masalonyana 2 million. From the latest we know is Mangaung as much as 25,000 litres per minute. Now, yes, much of this water that's being lost could be owing to illegal connections, but I would like to put it forward that it's actually ailing infrastructure. So in a water scarce province, and as custodian of water in the country, Minister, is it not time maybe to start with a decent audit for ailing infrastructure to determine what the extent of the problem is so that we can budget for it and plan accordingly? Can we not start with a decent audit to see, we know it's ailing infrastructure. We hear this every time you hear, but we don't know to what extent. Is it 80%? Is it 60%, 75%? So we need to know what the extent is. We need to budget. We need to plan for the future, 20 years, 10 years from now. My suggestion or question is, will you do such an audit or do a project with such an audit so we know exactly what to budget for and how to plan for it?
Honorable Minister.
Chairperson, yes. We have all the capacity and institutions that assist us to be able to plan and audit, and we have planned and we have audited. Most of the water losses that the honorable member is talking about are not necessarily out of leaks. Leaks are one of the losses. It is loss in revenue. The municipalities are not collecting the revenue to pay for the water that is given to them. That is called a loss in terms of the audit. But a certain percentage of that obviously will be water leaks. And water leaks have a number of reasons why we have them. and you've identified that it would be sometimes illegal connections, sometimes it's aging infrastructure. We have the technology that is able to detect aging infrastructure and has also the capacity to fix aging infrastructure without having to dig. But there are a number of societal problems that we experience even as we try to do that. Honorable Chair, one of the first things that happened to me when I became Minister of Water was the MEC for KwaZulu-Natal came to me and said, all our water projects have come to a halt in KwaZulu-Natal because of people who are called Matela Ngokubona. These are disgruntled citizens of the country who will stop a project and demand 30% of that particular project. Very rife in KwaZulu-Natal. These are some of the issues that we encounter on a regular basis, where you will find that even when we have planned to do something, have got a time frame for it and have allocated money, the citizens or the communities around there will either vandalize it or not allow it to continue, and we experience a whole lot of other problems in relation to that. But we have got an audit and we are planning. The plans don't always go the way that we want them to because of resistance from locals who feel that perhaps the project was given to people because they had money, and they who live in the area need to have some part to play in providing necessary infrastructure. They need to work, which is understandable. So we're looking at some of these problems and saying to ourselves that for every project that we have, we must have a certain percentage of people from local communities so that they participate and are able, therefore, to protect the infrastructure that we are dealing with. But this is something that we are doing on a regular basis. We have a plan, we have an audit, and I can indicate to you that we haven't progressed too much from what we inherited, and we're trying to build on what we inherited. And what we inherited is so skewed, Honorable Clinton, that in the agricultural space, 95% of the water used for agriculture is still in the hands of white people. Honorable Klute, you are listening? Only 5% is available for Black farmers. Those are some of the problems that we still have to deal with. Very soon we will be putting forward a handbook. What is it called? We are wanting to rename that that handbook a water charter, so that we are able to redistribute water in such a way that there is an equitable share for everybody, and all of those people who need water will be able to get water. We're still living with the structure that we inherited when we came into this government, and the infrastructure is still stuck where it was at that particular time. But we have tried every way we can to build dams. We've tried in every way we can to build new infrastructure, and it has been possible to take potable water to some places, but not to all the places that it needs to go to. The skewed nature of our distribution of water is something that we need to talk about and do it in such a way that nobody feels that we're taking anything away from them. Water needs to be given equitably to everybody in this country.
Thank you very much. The second supplementary question comes from Honorable MS Mletane. Honorable Mletane.
Thank you again, Chairperson. Minister, for the past 10 years, the community of Theanizen in Masilonyana municipality in the Free State has been struggling with access to water, affecting not only the household in the community, but the local clinic as well. In that Masilonyana municipality, the other two towns, the Brandford and the Winberg, their problem at least has been improved through your intervention. Hence now I want to know that is Theanizen one of the places that is going to be prioritized for the delivery of basic services that is ought to have been having access to for the past 10 years. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank
Honorable
you very
member,
much, Honorable Minister.
Honorable Chairperson, I do not have the spreadsheet in front of me. However, I promise to give it to the honorable member so that he can see whether or not his municipality is one of those that are prioritized. We prioritize areas in relation to how long they have waited. We prioritize areas in relation to how quickly we can put water there. And the story that you're telling is a story of many disadvantaged communities in our country. Many of our communities still remain very disadvantaged. And we're working round the clock. This is a very difficult environment to be in. We're working round the clock to make sure that that water which is life, is accessible to all. So we will look at the spreadsheet and have a look at the municipality that you're talking about and be able to provide you with that information. If I provided that information right here and now, do you know how many other hands would be shooting up to say, what about my municipality, Minister? Because we have these problems right through the country. But we're doing everything we can to make sure that we can cover every area. And we have learned from the COVID intervention just how many of our people are disadvantaged. In the meantime, what we're doing is leaving those tankers that we put out there where they were, and we've given over the tankers to the municipality to provide water, and we're monitoring whether or not they provide water. We're going to keep the system going because it has managed to reach the furthest corners of our country, and our people have been able to benefit from that. Where we've withdrawn, we have seen a serious decline in accessibility to water. So we're going to be, for a while, using the system that we learned from in the command center, because it has been able to identify every area in the country that needs water, and look at our own planning to make sure that we can also prioritize those areas that we have seen from our work in the command center are in desperate need of water. So Honorable Moletsane, I'm sorry right now, I cannot confirm whether your particular village is on the priority list. They are all on our priority list. And we work together with the provinces and the municipality to make sure that we can assist them in making this a reality. But we need their support in this regard.
Thank you very much, Minister. Let's move on to the third supplementary question from Honorable I.M. Sileko. Honorable Sileko.
Honorable Chair, Honorable Laspiskachny stands in for him.
Okay.
Thank you.
Please proceed.
Thank you. Minister, a lot has been said about the state of local government in the Free State. You have shared with us what your department is doing in dealing with the water crisis. It's worth noting that about turn you did in May this year, having originally written to the Sedibeng Water Board members, informing them of the termination of employment, only to then retract that, claiming it was a mistake to dismiss them in the middle of a national state of disaster. Minister, noting that you appointed Sedibeng Water as your implementing agent and considering the allegations of contractors not being paid, how will you ensure that with what must clearly already be a strained relationship with the Water Board, you will ensure that this will not lead to the collapse of water infrastructure projects?
Honorable Minister.
I think that Honorable Labuskachny should be able to distinguish between employees and members of the board. What she's talking about is members of the board. This particular board was appointed by Honorable Mkwinti at the end of his term, and it had not been consented to by cabinet. Therefore, we indicated to the board, it's not the only board, there are several other boards, to say, we would like you to step aside so that we can regularize your appointment. Please make sure if you want to serve, you respond to the advert that we're going to put out there. And that has nothing to do with the municipality. So combining municipality with the board is a bit of an overreach. However, the matter was taken to the courts by the board, and we have won. Not only did we win our case and the logic in our case, the judge made sure that there was that there were repercussions for the board resisting stepping aside while we regularize. In similar cases, we have won 7 cases where such a situation happened. That should speak for the correctness of the approach. Otherwise, we would not have 7 separate judges agreeing to what we have done. We now have put out adverts for various water boards, and we are putting in place water boards that have been approved by Cabinet. That is a Cabinet requirement. Only Cabinet can put water board in place. And those water boards were not put in place by Cabinet. They were a stopgap. And therefore, we are now going to make sure that every water board, starting with Amatola, is properly constituted, properly agreed to by Cabinet, and the successes that we have had in the courts speak volumes. I will send you the outcome and the judgments that we have had to indicate that we were in the right track. If we were not on the right track, we would not have won a single one of them. And what is more, the judge has put punitive charges on all of those boards that have taken us to court. Not only did we win them, they also were required to pay the cost of the case. Because in terms of what the judge saw from the documents we had every right to regularize what had been put in place irregularly, and no board has a right whatsoever to resist any more than I have a right to resist when the president says, I think you'd better go and do something else. They're put there for a particular purpose, and that purpose needs to be rectified if indeed it was not done properly. We have won 7 cases, Honorable Laboskachny, and flowers I love, so you can send me flowers to say congratulations. Roses are the best of them.
Chairperson, that trying to
Thank you very much. That takes us to the next question. That's just note the flowers.
I will await those, Chairperson.
Let's move on to the 4th supplementary question from Honorable S. Shaik.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson, and thank you, Honorable Minister, for your responses. Honorable Chairperson, I'm pretty much covered, and we will await the additional information from the Minister. However, Minister, with regard to the water crisis, you indicated that in addition to the drought situation in the Free State, municipalities are also unable to pay for water. Now, this has also been exposed in the Provincial Week, where the inherent inability by Free State municipalities to pay for water came up. Honourable Minister, can you perhaps maybe elaborate on how the department is dealing with the alarming high debt of Free State municipalities to the Water Board? Thank you.
What?
Honourable Minister.
Okay, Honourable Sheikh, today I've lost count of the days, but from last week, every day we've been having meetings with the Minister of COGTA. And my logic to the Minister of COGTA is, if you can top slice the money of the municipalities and give me money so that I can provide water, which is essential, it would make sense. And she has been indicating to me that the municipalities don't have that money. We are really in a conundrum that we've been sitting up, tearing our hair, trying to see what we can do. Last night, we had a joint portfolio committee meeting that went on and on and on to see what we can do. But that is what government is about. We have to sit up and solve problems as and when they arise. None of us had anticipated we would be in this situation. but our municipalities are not paying for their debt, are not paying for their water, making our water boards unable to operate as they should. And our water boards are there to provide the necessary water. They sell the water to the municipalities. They're there to assist municipalities when there is a drought. They are an essential element, an extension of our work. We would like them to be in a state of health that is able to do its work. But most of them are collapsing because they don't have the resources. And as soon as we are able to find a solution to this, we will come back to the House Chairperson, perhaps through you, to indicate how we've solved the problem. But we are struggling. We really are struggling with municipal debt. I would like to see a situation where the Municipal Act starts off by saying that before a municipality uses its resources or allocates its resources for anything, it starts with water because it's such an essential element. But we are very much the last thing that is on the allocation of resources. Or alternatively, to go direct to the Minister of Finance and say, we would like you to top slice, which is what we did a few months ago, and he is unable to because of the law. The law doesn't allow him to top slice money from that is budgeted for the municipalities or provinces. Therefore, we are unable to do that. But if we can change the law, I would very much want to be at the head of changing the law to say the first thing they will do is pay for water so that our citizens have access to water.
Thank you, Minister. We'll move to the next question, which is a question on audit on land for human settlement. This is question 130 by Honorable N.E. Nkosi from Mpumalanga, directed to the Minister.
Yes.
Honorable Minister.
Yes, we have done audits on Honorable Nkosi. We do that every year. We ask provinces to look out for land that is well located, land that we are able to build several typologies of housing and other needs that are required for a settlement. And on the so far, for this year alone, we have identified 14,296 hectares, which comes to 7,907 land parcels around the country. This is land that is state-owned, and we've identified it, and we are intending to use this for our own purposes. We had requested that this be done when we were dealing with the matter of the land redistribution, and we were happily granted that permission. So we have 7,907 land parcels, and we are wanting to make sure that 168 of these are given back to municipalities, because some of this land is municipal owned. And we've identified it as being suitable for development, and we would like to ring fence it for development as opposed to anything else. We have a lot of land that we have taken over, which we would need to turn into land suitable for human settlements. It is privately owned, and it is within the priority of human settlements to be the first buyer of this land, which is identified as suitable for human settlements.
Thank you very much. The first supplementary question comes from Honorable Nkosi. Honorable Nkosi.
Thank you very much, Chairperson, and thank you to the Minister for the responses. Honorable Minister, can you please explain what is the position of the department regarding South Africans who live in old settlements and still do not have dignified housing, but those living in new settlement have houses? Is it reasonable to find people still in shacks and many such deplorable conditions in areas have been in existence for decades? but those people that are living in new areas are prioritized. Thank you.
Honorable Minister.
You know, Honorable Chairperson, it's a very difficult question to respond to. The reason why there are new areas is because we've been able to identify land suitable for human settlements, and we've built those houses, and we've built them to the standard that we find acceptable, not the standard that we found had been given to them. We are hoping that in time we will also be able to persuade people who are in old settlements to either move or allow us to put up new houses. We've had a serious problem in PE, where all the old houses were almost on a regular basis falling apart. And we had put in place a project which we called rectification, so that we can rectify the houses and they can look as decent as possible. And on calculation, we discovered that we're spending more on rectification than on building new houses. So we are trying to phase out that project of rectification. We are still dealing with indigent who are living in informal settlements, but it is not taking away those people who are living in deplorable conditions anyway in the country. Municipalities have a register which is open for everybody to come and register and make a request of a house, and we examine this on a regular basis. And the chairperson sitting in front of me here is in a better reading and make a better position to explain how this is done. The municipalities are then able to put people on the waiting list in relation to certain criteria that is set there. One of them, I hope, is the age of the people who are applying, condition in which they are living in, and etc. and etc. But we are trying to build as fast as we can, but there is very little that we can do about people who already have houses. We're still dealing with people who don't have houses, who will live under bridges, people who are living in informal settlements where houses burn down every time there is a fire. Every time there is a flood, they are washed away. So it's a matter of how the municipality would prioritize what is who urgently needs a house, and that prerogative is given to the municipalities. Honorable Kosi.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. We'll go on and move on to the second supplementary question by Honorable S.E. Mfaela. Honorable Mfaela.
Honorable Chairperson Nyambosa, Madam Minister.
Yes, sir.
Honorable Minister.
We'll ask the table that to assist so that Honorable Mfaela is a bit more audible. Please try and speak to the mic and closer to your system. Honorable Mfaela.
You hear me now? Honorable Chair. Honorable Chair. Hello.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, Master my video.
Please do, yeah.
Yes, in order to see more houses built with available funds, we need to eliminate overwhelming, irregular, and wasteful expenditure in our municipalities. Now, have any audit been undertaken regarding the rectification and reconstruction of poorly built houses under the government's reconstruction development program? Minister, I thank you.
Okay. Yes,
Minister, let's hope you heard a little bit of what you were saying.
Yes, I did hear the last end of what you were saying, Honorable Chair. When we got into government, Honorable Mfaela, we set up an institution called NHBRC. This is an institution that insists on a warranty so that any construction of a house is backed up by some resources that are put aside should there be anything that has gone wrong in the construction of the house, that resource is used for the rectification of that house. And insofar as the wasteful expenditure in the municipalities, it isn't necessarily our domain, but we do have regular meetings with municipalities, especially those municipalities that have been given certain accreditation, and we regularly go through what resources they have. We have worked out a way, Honorable Mfayela, within the environment of human settlements, that at a particular time, I think it is September, if money has not been allocated or used by any province or municipality, we take it back and distribute it amongst those who are able to use it, so that we are able to utilize the resources that we have and that we have budgeted for. And this has worked for us, and I hope it will continue working for us. We haven't reached as far as the municipalities because they fall outside of our domain, except those that are accredited. Those that are not accredited don't fall within our domain, but the engagements we have with the Minister of COCTA, the regular engagements we've been having of late, would get us to a point where we would be requesting that if there is any wasteful expenditure of resources in any municipality, that we are able to ensure that we can ring fence money that is meant for human settlements and brought back to a central fund that we can allocate to people who are able to use that money. But unfortunately, when you talk about wasteful expenditure, we discover this only at the point at which the Auditor General is auditing, which is way past our ability to have taken that money. So we don't have the instrument or the power to do in municipalities what we do in provinces. If we could change the law, I'd be very happy. Then we would not have the wasteful expenditure that Honorable Mfayela is talking about in municipalities, because we would take it and give it to the next municipality that can use it.
Thank you very much. The next supplementary question is from Honorable S. Zandamela. Honorable Zandamela.
Oh, thanks, Chairperson. I'm actually partly covered. That was in my question actually was about the hectares that were the cabinet approved last year that were released to provinces. And I think the minister has answered that. But what I would like maybe just to ask the minister, how far is that process? And when can we expect maybe the start of these developments on this land that they are allocated to provinces? Thank you, Chairperson.
Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much. Honorable Zandamela, the first request I have of you is, will you help us protect the land?
Good question.
Well, Minister, I'm just like you. I cannot. People, they are looking for that.
Honorable Minister, I will not have a dialogue.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I will not allow a dialogue.
I'm sorry, Chair. I withdraw.
Zandamela, is there anything else you want to say, Minister?
No, Honorable Chair, we do have the number of hectareage that has been released to us and that we are releasing to provinces, and we will provide that to the provinces at our next MINMEC, and they will have the advantage of indicating how many hectares they have if they have the courage to declare that to the public. Our biggest problem is we must protect the land from invasion, because it would have been cut out for settlements to ensure that we are able to reduce our backlog. We still have a huge backlog of people who are in their 80s and 70s and have no house. And this also includes military veterans, people who have fought for this country against all the kind of hardship you can imagine, and they still don't have houses. It's unacceptable. But we do have the hectareage, Honorable Zandamela, and it will be given to the provinces, and the provinces will be free should they feel brave enough to indicate how many hectares they each have and where it is.
Last supplementary question come from Honorable Labuskachne. Honorable Labuskachne.
Chair, I think it was from me, Dennis.
Yes, Chair, it's Honorable Dennis Ryder.
All right. Dennis Ryder, please proceed.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. And Minister, your question to Mr. Zandamela has earned you a rose from me. So next time I see you, I'll definitely give you a rose.
Thank
Minister,
you.
I'm quite pleased to hear from your answer on the land audits that there is indeed quite a lot of land for development and to give back to housing. But Minister, you're on record in 2016 saying that the current model of delivering housing is unsustainable.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you're the minister now in a post-COVID reality with an economy that's in crisis. And I mean, we heard today that there's further money being taken away from the Department of Housing for delivery, both provincially and nationally. So I'd just like to hear, Minister, what is your recommendation to Cabinet at this stage on the future of housing provision in South Africa?
Okay. We have a policy we've developed. We took time during the clampdown to recalibrate and look at our delivery model. And we have developed a model where we are going to be giving land to people for them to build their own houses. It works out cheaper for us. It gives more responsibility to the people who own the land to build houses. And we are hoping that it will be better quality because they will be building it themselves. And in the process, they'll be getting to get the skills of building. And we are quite certain that it will work. So we have a policy that we call rapid land release. We will be releasing land, cutting it out, and fencing it off and giving it to those people who are beneficiaries of that. We'll be providing them with the essentials of how to build the house. We believe when they build their own houses, they'll look after them better. We believe that they will protect the area better. And when that policy is accepted by Cabinet, we will bring it to yourselves for you to consider and also approve.
Thank you very much. Now to the last question. I guess the question is